Greetings, Bat family, and welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. Make sure you visit our website, holybatcast.com. You can also find us all over social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast. You'll find us. And if you love the show, you want to support us, you can do that on Patreon. You go to patreon.com/holybatcast. And as always, a big, huge thank you to our patrons. You guys are awesome. We appreciate you. You make our lives that much easier. So hope you know that we appreciate you. We are part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. You can check out all those shows at rf4rm.com. And finally, as always, I'm your Bat host, Andy DiGenova. You can find me on Twitter, on Instagram, or on Letterboxd at Andy DiGenova. This episode, we're going to be following the lead on an email we got on the last episode. And we're going to share what would be our DC slates if we were put in charge of in charge of DC Studios instead of James Gunn and Peter Safran. It was a fun idea, and we kind of spitballed it a little bit, but we were like, you know what? It's another quiet week while we wait for James Gunn to drop a bomb. And so we were like, well, let's do it now, because pretty soon, in another week or two, we might have some answers. So it'll be a good time. We're also going to review the next episode of The Batman. So joining me for all this fun is my Bat brother. It's Sunday morning. It means that he is up and ready to go. It's Jamie Drewley. Hi, Jamie.
Well, I'm battling about a depression right now because it's currently just raining snow down on top of us. But
oh, I bet that's pretty.
Yeah, except for I have to go out in this tomorrow and move cars to plow lots and things like that. So.
I always
the
like
anticipation of what's to come kind of overrides the scenery.
I agree. I'm with you. I mean, when I woke up this morning, I had to turn on my heat because it was chilly in my house.
I hate you.
It's a true story. I swear to God.
What is I've been having to 48 there?
Well, in the morning it's as low as 40. But then it's weird because during the day then it gets to like 72. It's weird. Anyway, there's your weather report.
It's not even 72 in my house, you disgusting human being.
Anyway, I also mentioned our Patreon. I told you we got a list of patrons. We're trying to get back on the show, trying to get everybody their opportunity. And so we have another special guest, a patron and a friend of the show, longtime friend of the show, joining us to chat about proposed or imaginary DC slates, wish list DC slates, if you will. He has his own podcast, Tis the Podcast. Yes, he celebrates Christmas all year round, and so it is Anthony Caruso. Hey, Anthony.
Hey, Andy. Hey, Jamie. You know, I've been listening to you guys for so long. I feel starstruck right now, but I'm glad to be here.
I mean, we're real famous. I don't want to brag, but let me tell you. I can't go to the Publix without just getting mobbed. Huge Holy BatCast community here in Winter Garden, Florida.
I was about to say, if I ran into you guys in public, I'd be asking for an autograph.
Well, that's very sweet. I would be happy to give you one. No, great to finally talk to you. We've talked online for years now. Yes, quite a while. So nice to actually talk to you one-on-one. So thanks for your support. Thanks for being a patron. We're glad that you could make the time for us this morning. And as is tradition, we want you to tell us a little about, oh my God, I've been awake less than an hour. My mouth is still waking up. Tell us a little about yourself, your Batman fandom, and your favorite Batman movie.
Yeah, so I was born in 89, which was one of the greatest years for movies ever. And not just because of Batman. You know, you got Christmas Vacation, Back to the Future 2, The Last Crusade. It was a great year. But of course, we had Batman 89. So I was born right in the middle of Batmania. And when you look at pictures of me from that year, I'm surrounded by all things Batman, dressed in Batman onesies and pajamas. So Batman's always been a big part of my life. In fact, in 92, when Batman Returns came out, my parents actually had an actor dressed in the Batman Keaton suit come to my birthday party. So there are tons of pictures of me with Batman at that age. And apparently...
You got some cool parents, man.
Yeah, they're pretty okay.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, they are great. But apparently the first thing I asked this actor who came to my birthday party was, can I see the Batmobile? So he had to lie on the spot and say he parked it like 5 blocks away. So he couldn't take me to see it. But yeah, I grew up on obviously the Adam West TV show and the animated series. I was a prime age for that, and that to me is still the definitive take on Batman outside of the comics. And when I was a little older, I saw the Burton films, obviously. Though for some reason, I think I saw Returns before 89. So I have a little more nostalgia and love for that one than 89 because it was the first one I saw. Um, but I was a prime age. Batman Forever was the first one I saw in theaters, and I was a prime age for that and Batman and Robin. Um, but it was between Batman and Robin and Batman Begins where I really discovered the love for Batman comics during that dry spell when he wasn't in the movies. And I really became obsessed with how dark and gritty and deep and emotional those comics could be. And I became obsessed with him and his world, especially as I got older, you know. I had trouble in school in terms of bullies and stuff, but I always had Batman, so he was kind of like the hope in the darkness for me. All that to say, I was ecstatic when Batman Begins came out, and I think that is still to this day my sentimental favorite Batman movie. It's the most Batman movie we've gotten, in my opinion.
Mm.
Uh, you know, I fall in the category. I recognize The Dark Knight is a better film, and I love that movie just as much. But Batman Begins feels a little more comic booky for me, so I would have to say that's probably my favorite. I love the Batman too. Don't get me wrong. If they had just fixed the aesthetic in that film a little bit, it it would have had a chance of becoming my number one. I know you guys pointed out it took a lot from The Dark Knight, which it did, but you know, I was okay with that.
All right. So I have to ask, you said that like Returns is sort of your sentimental favorite, like over 89. Could that be because of the Christmas element?
I mean, it could be. I definitely
You're a
watched.
big Christmas guy, right? You know, like us.
I am a big Christmas guy. I'm a big Halloween guy, big Christmas guy. My parents are obsessed with Christmas, and I definitely watched Batman Returns more growing up because it had that annual, like, you watch it annually at Christmas time. So that might be why I saw it more around the holidays.
I understand. I mean, it does help. Like, I love Batman 89, but it's like there's not like an annual time to go, well, it's time of the year we watch Batman 89 as opposed to Returns. You know, every Christmas we're going to watch it.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, I mean, Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman. Come on.
Iconic. Amazing.
Exactly.
Awesome. Well, thanks for coming. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it. And yeah, Batman Begins. You're gonna get no argument from us, so it is all good. Um, anyway, we're gonna talk some fun stuff. Before we do that, we also have to give a shout out to our sponsors over at manscaped.com. It's still the new year, still the time to be changing your life, doing new things, making things better. So go to Manscaped, improve your grooming habits. Maybe there's something you've been meaning to do. You've been meaning to trim more. You want to switch up your body wash, or your shampoo, or your deodorant, or your lip balm because you live in the tundra like Jamie. Whatever it is, Manscaped's got you covered. Their products are great. They're high quality, and you get a great deal on them because no matter what they're priced on the site, sometimes they're marked down, sometimes they're not, but no matter what, you can use the promo code BATSCAPE to get 20% off and free shipping. And then you're going to get these nice products. They show up in just a couple of days and you'll be smelling nice before you know it. So go to manscaped.com, do a little bit of shopping, see if anything looks good to you. They have these nice little variety packs where you get a little something of everything. So if you can't decide, you have a hard time committing like me, do that. Or maybe you just need a trimmer. Maybe you just need the body wash and shampoo, whatever. Give it a shot. I do think you'll be happy with the products. And again, it's a way for you to support the show while also shopping. So manscaped.com, use that promo code BATSCAPED, get the discount, get the free shipping, get the products, and it would mean a lot for us. And I know that they would appreciate it too. So everybody wins.
You know, when you guys first started, when Manscaped first started advertising with you and you guys started talking it up, I was like, it can't be that good. And then I got my trimmer and you guys are right. That thing's amazing.
I know. I wouldn't steer you wrong, especially again, as someone who's been using not as great trimmers that I would just buy at Target for years and years and years. And I was like, it's kind of a pain and I don't like it and I end up bleeding, but you gotta do what you gotta do. And then I literally I bought the Manscaped one before they started sponsoring the show because I kept seeing the commercials and I was like, you know what? I know it costs more, but it might be worth it. And I bought it and it was worth it. And then it just so happened that they started sponsoring the show, and I could be like, no, I was already using you guys, but thank you. Now I will happily take samples because I will use those too.
Yeah, I ordered it when they first started advertising with you guys, and I only had to charge it for the first time last week. It's amazing. The battery life is incredible.
Yeah, it's great. Well, I'm glad you're happy with yours, and that makes me happy because I don't want to steer people wrong. I don't. And I truly like. I've been very happy with the products Jamie has, Brendan has, and so it's nice to hear you like for the first time you're happy with yours too.
Absolutely.
Sweet, good. All right, guys. So yeah, if you want to give it a shot, there you go. Another testimony from Anthony. If he didn't think that, he probably would have said nothing. So that's good. Manscaped.com. Use the promo code BATSCAPE, 20% off and free shipping. But now let's get to the main event. On our last episode, we got an email from our good friend Robert Reinecke, and it said, let's just say you guys were put in charge of DC Studios instead of James Gunn and Peter Safran. What would your slate be? And I was like, wow, that's a great question. That's a really fun question. And it's not the first time we've gotten something similar. And we were like, yeah, but we got to think about it. That's a little bit of homework. And so we did a little spitballing of like, oh, I think I would do this. I think I would do this. And then this week, it was like, well, great. Let's just do that. Let's make that the episode. It'll be fun. We don't have to read 10 comics. We don't have to watch a movie. It's just something that's fun to chat about. And so we did. We put our slates together. Plus, it was Robert's birthday this week. So in honor of Robert's birthday, we're answering his email again, but in far more detail. So we've all prepared slates for the next 5 years, and we're going to talk about them. So without further ado, it is time to talk about what would be our theoretical DC Studios film slate. I'll give you a heads up as far as what the rules were, how we plan this out. 2023 is spoken for. We got 4 movies coming out this year. Still, today, that's still true. Things can change. But for now, we only have 4 movies coming out this year, so there was no point in messing up the slate for 2023. And so I said, let's do the 5 years starting with 2024. So 2024, 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028. And I said, let's do 2 to 4 movies per year, depending on what you think is best. I led that up to the guys because I don't know what they think would be best if they were in charge. But 2 to 4 felt reasonable to me. And then we'll talk a little bit about sort of our rationale of what we put where and why. Now we don't have full stories or full pitches for any of the movies, because if we were in charge, we would make a slate, but then we would start getting pitches and story ideas from writers and directors and things like that. And so we're not there in our slate, but just sort of an overall idea of like, hey, I might make this movie with this villain or something like that. And just talk about how we would build the new DC on film. So we're going to go year by year. And are you guys ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Jamie?
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. So here we go. 2023, like we said, we got Shazam coming up in March. We have The Flash in June. We've got Blue Beetle in Aquaman. And then we've got Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom wrapping things up at Christmas time. This year is set. It's scheduled. It's booked. But we're going to imagine that we were given these jobs when James Gunn and Peter Safran were, which was last October. So 2023 is set, but after that, the only thing that's really moving forward is Joker 2 and then the development of the Batman 2. The rest of like the DC extended universe, the DC universe, whatever you want to call it, the Snyderverse, whatever, was all completely up in the air. And so that's what we're being given. So saying that, we're into 2024. We get the job in October of 22. And so, I guess we'll do the whole year in one fell swoop instead of just going around. So 2024, Jamie, what does your 2024 look like if you're in charge?
Okay, so I'm going to preface this by saying the more I worked on this, the more excited I got. And now I'm going to be really sad that James Gunn isn't going to call me and say, hey, are you busy? I need your help over here. Because I'm not a writer. I can come up with some decent ideas, but reading through what I've got down here is a slate that I would watch. So now we're going to find out if the rest of you watch it with me. So 2024 is, I don't have an official branding for it or anything, but kind of the year of new beginnings. And just to give you all the basis, I essentially would like to hit the ground running. I don't necessarily want origin films, and it's not that I have anything against origin films. I just feel like a fresh approach to the whole superhero idea of we're in an established universe. They're more or less at their prime or at the very beginning of their prime. They know each other. We don't see them on screen a lot, but people might show, Batman might show up for a quick rooftop meeting with Superman or something like that. We're here, guys. It's not Superman and Batman have to fight for one movie before they can become friends or any of that kind of stuff. Maybe you'll show an argument or a disagreement or a philosophical difference, but I don't need to build from the ground up. And maybe that's the wrong approach because of the general audience, but I feel like you can always go to flashbacks or things like that. And I'll come to more of that as we go along. But
so wait, can I stop you there? I have a question.
Yeah.
Are you saying like 2024, year of new beginnings? You're saying clean slate? Are you saying full reboot 2024?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
But again,
I'm
hitting the ground running. So my first idea, and this is going to sound a little bit bizarre, but go with me here. The first movie I do is Superman. But I do it with a JSA prologue and kind of establish the world has known heroes for a long time. They've come to our aid when we need them the most, and they've done their job, and they've cleaned up the world, made it safe for everyone. But things don't always stay as nice and clean and safe as we'd like them to be. And kind of this is the one idea I've toyed around with, and I'm not sure how I feel about it, but we'll see what you guys think. I would kind of have, Clark is a kid. I would have somebody like Dr. Fate show up at the Kent farm and say, you don't understand now why he's here, but I do. Make sure that he knows the way. Make sure that he understands why he's here, what he has to do, just a little bit cryptic, and just kind of jump from there to he's in Metropolis. He's been Superman for a minute, and let him deal with whatever villain, be it Brainiac, Parasite, Metallo, whatever. I didn't get that deep into it, but that's kind of where I start. And then my next movie that I go to, that one will be released in March, by the way. I even put the month I want these out.
All right.
So that one's released in March. In June, I have Batman and Robin featuring Nightwing. Because, again, he's been Batman for a minute. He's established. He's out there. He's wearing blue and gray, by the way. And Drake is his Robin, and Drake is new to it. Like, Drake is at the beginning phases. Like, he's out on his first week of patrol with Batman, and Nightwing kind of shows up, and they know each other, but Drake has some questions. And the first question that maybe he asked is, I know there were two before me. You were the first. Jason was the second. I don't really know what happened with Jason. And you can just kind of see Batman get about that. And Nightwing kind of says, well, this is, the quick rundown of what happened with Jason. And they work together. They take down, say, Mr. Freeze. I think that's a good one that needs to be reestablished pretty quickly. But that comes out in June. And then in November.
Wait, Jamie, real quick.
What?
Here, hold on. This is for you. That was my wallet.
And then, and again, I don't mean to undercut the importance of anybody here. I'm not trying to take screen time away from major players in order to get other people in, but I'm greedy. I want some stuff to happen. So this is why my slate is what it is. My third movie, releasing in November around Thanksgiving time, would be Wonder Woman, and a heavily featured character there would be Supergirl. And I think my approach with that is not entirely unlike what we got in, was it Superman Batman Apocalypse, where she shows up and they kind of send her to Themyscira to help hone her powers and learn what it is to be a hero. I don't quite want to get that in depth, but I want to say something to the effect of, I Superman telling Wonder Woman, I can teach her to be like me, but I want her to be her own person. I want you to give her strength like what you have. Just something like that. Get an established relationship between Superman and Wonder Woman, where Wonder Woman's like, yeah, I'll help her out. I'll show her how I do things, and she can be her own person from there. But it gives two really super powerful female characters right up at the forefront, pretty close to the beginning of what I'm trying to do. So that's my year one there.
All right. Okay. Cool.
I love it, man. Take my wallet too.
I'm in. I like where your head's at, man. All right, Anthony. 2024. Sure. What are you doing?
All right. So when I sat down to do this, I thought to myself, okay, I love the Snyderverse, but obviously it doesn't connect with audiences. So I am also going full reboot. And I'm also looking at Marvel, not to copy them, but clearly they resonated with audiences. So why do they resonate so much? I think because they took their time.
Lots of bad jokes, man. Right? Lots of bad jokes.
Sorry.
I'm not going to argue with you. That was a cheap shot. I'm sorry.
I am not going to argue with you, though, because you are not wrong. Yeah, but it's introducing these characters and building them up slowly before bringing them together. So I'm with Jamie. Like, I don't need full-on origin stories. So going into this, all of my heroes are established and in their prime. But, the world is still semi-new to the superhero thing. Like, the JSA hasn't existed before, so the world is still wary of these people. They haven't come together as a team yet. So that's like the baseline here. So my first movie is going to be a Superman film as well. And I would have him facing Metallo. And the premise here would be, so I don't need to see Superman versus Lex Luthor one-on-one again, but Lex is obviously a big DC character, so he would be President Lex Luthor in my DCU. And he has the head of Argus, Amanda Waller, experiment on war veteran John Corbin to turn him into Metallo to take down Superman, whom the U.S. government still does not fully trust. So that would be my Superman movie.
Okay.
And I wanted to start with Superman because he's a granddaddy of all heroes. He should kick off the new DCU. Then I would have Wonder Woman, and she would face off against Cersei. And the premise would essentially be, U.S. forces, Steve Trevor, somebody, they stumble upon, some enchanted prison where she's been kept all these years. And when they release her, Wonder Woman has to come to man's world to save humankind with the help of Steve Trevor. And that's the premise there. And at the end, you'd get some kind of after credit scene where, Argus approaches Steve to kind of be their liaison between themselves and Wonder Woman. Just like you get in the animated series and the comics and everything like that. Those would actually be my only two films released that year, but I would do an HBO Max show to round out the year. And like Jamie, it would be called Batman and Robin. And like Jamie, he would be in his blue and gray costume with the yellow oval. So Batman is in his prime here. And this would essentially be the origin story of Robin. He takes in Dick Grayson after he watches his family murdered by a new villain, the Scarecrow, who's testing out his fear toxin at the circus. And the whole season would take place over spooky season. Kirk Langstrom would be the secondary villain, turning into Man-Bat, turning the public against Batman because they think he's committing all these crimes. So Batman has to deal with that imposter and, really reining in Dick as he sets out to essentially kill the Scarecrow in vengeance for killing his own family. And, you could get the Bruce origin story like in flashbacks here or, subtly through Robin's origin story. And, in the end, Batman clears his name and him and Robin become a true team. And I think HBO would be the way to go for that, to separate him from the Reeves-verse. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Going a little off the beaten path, a little HBO Max to supplement it. I'm down. I'm here for it.
I have HBO Max. I ain't mad at this.
I know. I do. As long as they keep it on the system, I'm in. All right. Well, I'm gonna be the one who goes against the grain, as it turns out, because I also love the current continuity, but I feel that we need to wrap it up in a deliberate way before we full reboot. I do think a reboot is in the cards. I do think it is part of the extended plan, but I do want to wrap things up in the current DCEU before we get there. So if 2024 for Jamie is the year of new beginnings, for me, 2024 is the year of the final chapters. And so the first thing I would do, and again, this is assuming that we were able to get this started last year, is the first movie would be Wonder Woman 3 for Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot, with the understanding that this is the finale of their Wonder Woman trilogy. I haven't thought about who she's fighting. I haven't gone that far, but I wanted them to be able to wrap up their trilogy in the way they wanted to do it. And so that would be the first thing in the year. That would be in June. Now, in 2024, we already have Joker Folie à Deux coming in October. So I just kind of slated that in going, okay, well, that's another DC movie. So maybe we're just going to leave that as is. And so I only have 2 new movies for 2024 because to make room for Joker 2. But then come December would be a Superman solo film. And this would be Henry Cavill's Superman solo film. This is the long-awaited sequel that he deserved all along. This is paying off the tease that we got in Black Adam. I hate dangling threads. And Cavill deserved another time up at bat. So I tentatively titled it Superman Last Son of Krypton. I was going to go with Man of Tomorrow, but that was the name of the animated one. And I was like, oh, all right, well, we'll go with Last Son of Krypton. But that's okay because this is the Cavill versus Brainiac movie. And in many of the versions of Brainiac, he comes from Krypton as well. So you can still make it work as the last son of Krypton, where he is again faced with his lineage. But we can also have some Black Adam integration in order to pay off what we saw in Black Adam. So this is going to be the big Cavill final Superman solo film for December, because I also feel like a Superman film during the holiday season would do very well, because it could be like a big all ages affair. And while people are out of work and school for the holidays, they should go see the big new Superman movie. And so
you're not wrong.
And so that's 2024. Again, I only added 2 new movies because I was making room for Joker 2.
You know what? I think I'm going to call David and tell him, hey, I'm going to go ahead and shoot my slate, but I'm going to push back the dates to the following year so we can get Andy's plan out in front of mine. But I want mine ready to go. So we're still going to shoot ours on schedule. We're just going to release them a little later than
just got to make room. Got to make room. So I will also say this, because like I want to be able to wrap up the current continuity, but not wait 5 years for a reboot. I tried to expedite it as quickly and as smartly as I could. And so like Wonder Woman 3, it sounded like it was kind of ready to go. They rejected the pitch, but like if that was ready to go, it seemed very feasible that could have been made in time for summer of 2024. But I'll say this now, the big sacrifice I had to make in order to get the timeline a little more efficient is Aquaman 3. And I hate that, but it's like we would have just gotten Aquaman 2 in 2023. It's not like Aquaman 3 would be ready for another 3 years, and that totally delays everything. So it's like that was a sacrifice I had to make. And also James Wan said he wasn't going to make a third one anyway. So I'm like, well, it sucks, but let's just leave it. So throwing that out there too.
I mean, he could have let Lee Winnell do it for him. I'd have watched that.
You know,
I'd have watched that.
You make a great point, but it's still like, we still wouldn't get it. I mean, we did it 2 years at the quickest, and even that would be a tough order. So
that's fair. I never considered the scheduling. Like I'm talking about releasing my first movie in 14 months. Obviously, I'm playing with the timeline here. Obviously, I've already been working on this for a minute. It's not something I started writing down yesterday and this morning.
Yeah,
and making it happen in March. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah, I actually was trying to think of like, well, the movie wouldn't be ready by that date. So I was trying to also take that in. Whereas Wonder Woman 3, I thought if they'd have greenlit it in the fall, yes, it could have been ready by summer of 24. And then Superman Last Son of Krypton, if you could have greenlit that in late 2022, you'd have 2 years and it could have come out in late 2024. So I was keeping that in mind.
Yeah, when you first messaged me the details about coming up with their slate, Andy, I initially read it as starting in 2025 because I figured that would be the earliest we could get any movies out. And then I went back. I was like, "Oh, he said 2024. I have to shift my whole schedule around."
That's all right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Figure
all
I'm playing in a fantasy realm anyway. Like I say, I've already been working on this for like 2 years, so we're good.
all right. So on to 2025, Jamie. What's next?
Okay, so my 2025 slate is, again, no official title branded over the phase or the year or anything like that, but I feel like the 2025 slate is, here's some characters that maybe you know, maybe you don't, but you should, because they're going to get to be real familiar real quick. So in 2025, in March, I'm going to have a Green Lantern movie. And I toyed around this for a minute and I thought maybe go full-blown core, but then I was like, Green Lantern is a known commodity, but like, you know, on the screen, people maybe only know the Ryan Reynolds movie, which, you know, Andy and I like. Anthony, I don't know how you feel about it, but it's
I actually really like that one, Jamie.
It's a divisive one though. So we got 3 for 3 here that are okay with it. I don't think it's amazing, but I think it's an entertaining and decent enough film. But I feel like Green Lantern needs more than that. So kind of my idea here is very much the formula I used with the Batman Robin Nightwing thing, in that Hal and John and Jessica Cruz are kind of doing the patrol of Sector 2814. They can be in Earth, they can be in space, they can mix it up, do a little bit of both. But Hal and John are the established ones. Like they're the known ones that have been doing this for a minute. And Cruz is kind of new to the scene. She's the rookie that's being, you know, right out of training with Kilowog and kind of showing her the ropes and dealing with whatever they need to deal with there. So that's my March one there. My June release is Flash and Green Arrow. So I feel like the two of these have kind of that witty personality. Like you don't traditionally think of these two as being like the team up. Like maybe you think more of Green Lantern, Green Arrow as the team up, but something in my head just tells me that their wisecracking personalities kind of line up well enough that I think you could make something pretty entertaining, you know, maybe on the lighthearted side, maybe a little more toward that humor angle, which obviously we all know isn't my favorite thing, but I feel like the chemistry is there for those two to make this one work. I didn't put enough thought into it to say who they're dealing with for the villain or villains, but you know, kind of the team up angle is what I'm playing up with there. And then in November, which of course is the month of the bird, guys, right? The month of the bird?
Yeah.
Black Canary and Hawk Girl do a little bit of a team up happening there. I feel like obviously Hawk Girl's power set is maybe a little bit on the higher side as compared to Black Canary's, but you know, Batman and Superman always team up well, right? So maybe take that a little bit more grounded mortal power base, but still gritty, tough, can deal with anything that's in front of her, and team her up with somebody that can, you know, knock somebody's block into the moon if she really gets pissed off. And again, I didn't put enough thought into it to say what situation you're dealing with. I'm thinking this is kind of where I want to start really establishing some team ups of characters that haven't maybe gotten a lot of face time with the general audience, and get them established and get them ready for what's to come. So that's how I close out my slate for 25 is Black Canary and Hawk Girl.
I like it.
Yeah, it's a different approach with like more team up films than solo films, but I like it. I'm down with it. I'd be there.
And again, in my universe, they're established. The Justice League exists. The Watchtower's up there floating around in space. So it's there. It's just not what I'm presenting from the get-go is the big team up Justice League unifies to do what they're going to do. I'm kind of doing smaller portions of that to lead up to things.
Yeah.
Yep, I got it.
All right. Cool. All right, Anthony, what about you? 2025.
So 2025, I have 3 films, starting with Batman and Superman, World's Finest. Kicking it off with a team-up film, which would probably make WB scared crapless, since the last time they put these two together it didn't work out so well. But there would be no fighting this time around. It would be their first time meeting. They'd be wary of one another, but these guys wouldn't be coming to physical blows. And essentially, the plot would be President Luthor, he secretly enlisted the Joker to help him take down Superman and Batman for good. So it'd be the two of them against Lex and the Joker, which I think would be pretty popular on the big screen. And at the end, Batman and Superman, hint at putting together a team of heroes for these bigger threats, which would be our first seeds of the Justice League. My next film in the year would be The Flash versus the Reverse Flash. I kind of envision a cold open where Barry Allen takes down Captain Boomerang. And then he's disturbed to find that Central City has another speedster running around, but this one's a bad guy. So it's about him taking down the Reverse Flash. And I kind of picture a subplot where Iris lets her nephew Wally move in with them. And we establish Wally and his relationship with Barry right off the bat here. And my final film, like Jamie, would be The Green Lantern. I picture it as a buddy cop film. The veteran, rule-abiding Jon Stewart and the young, daring hotshot Hal Jordan having to take down Sinestro, who is determined to rule the galaxy by fear. And it would climax with Parallax and Sinestro and the Yellow Lantern Corps heading toward Earth, and the two of them having to stop them.
All right.
Yeah, that's my 2025 slate.
I'll say this for both you and Jamie. We're going to see a lot of overlap. It's just the timing that might be different, but I think a lot of our heads are in the same place.
Great minds, Andy. Great minds.
Yeah. All right. So for my 2025, the first thing we'll do is we're going to kick off the summer of 2025 with Justice League 2, or the Justice League finale, or Justice League Darkseid War, whatever you want to call it. Ideally, we would get Zack Snyder to make this, not do 2 and 3, but essentially for Zack Snyder to work to essentially make one big finale film that is not only a Justice League finale film, but it is a DCEU finale film. It would be the summer movie, and it would not just be the Justice League. Ideally, it would be the finale for the entire universe, and so that means everybody's in it. That means Will Smith's Deadshot's in it. Harley Quinn is in it. It means Shazam is in it, and Black Adam is in it, but the entire Justice League is in it. But this is the big finale. This is our time to say goodbye. This is to give a big finish to the universe and give closure to everybody. And so that's really my plan. Is the previous year was Wonder Woman 3, Superman or Man of Steel 2, leading into this big finale Justice League movie. So within 3 movies, we wrap up the universe, but we try to do it in a way that is satisfying for all the fans who've been with the universe the whole time. And hopefully Zach would want to do it. And then that clears the board for the beginning of the reboot. And so my thought is, well, if we just did this finale with Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, et cetera, you don't want to start the reboot of any of those characters because it's just going to be such a short amount of time. You can't immediately go to a new Superman movie when you just had a Superman solo film and a Justice League movie. So I was thinking what you guys were thinking is the first movie in the reboot is Green Lantern. And this would come out the late summer of 2025. And much like both of you said, I am thinking of keeping the first one smaller and expanding to the core later. So this would be a Hal and John buddy picture versus Sinestro and whoever else.
Nice.
But as the first movie in the reboot, it's the one character that's kind of gotten short thrift in this past universe, who would be a great introductory way to start this new universe. And then that leads us to the fall in October, where we finally get our Justice League Dark movie. So just in time for spooky season, another group of characters that were not really represented in the previous universe, Justice League Dark. So you've got Constantine, you've got Swamp Thing, you've got Blue Devil, you've got the Justice League Dark, and that opens up the supernatural side of DC as part of the new universe. And again, still doesn't cause confusion with the universe that we just wrapped up.
Take my money for that Justice League Dark movie now. I tried so hard to fit them into my slate, but I couldn't do it.
Zatanna would be in there too. It's worth noting. But yeah, like that's one that's been promised to us since the DCEU started and just went away, never happened.
If I can just, quote myself from some episodes of the Real Fans podcast, I am not at this time ready to discuss Justice League Dark.
That's okay.
Oh, okay.
And so that leads us to 2026, Jamie.
Okay, for 2026, I am going to kick it off in February for Black History Month with Black Lightning and Cyborg.
Oh.
This will be a movie that deals with some social issues, some things that still plague our society, unfortunately. But the more we talk about them, the better things will be, right? So we'll deal with things much like what Black Lightning does in his comics, his TV show. Cyborg getting involved is just going to add another element, some help with the technology, helping Black Lightning track down what he needs to deal with, be it Tobias Whale or, Whale's got maybe a tech guy that Black Lightning can't quite get by. And he says, hey, Cyborg, we're on the same team. Come and help me out with this. So I'll get that in there because those are two characters I really like, and I don't think we can overlook them. And I don't feel like enough people talk about those two. So that's where I'm at there. This next one, guys, this is probably the one I'm the most unsure about, only because I am not good enough to come up with the right idea that makes this work. But I don't know. This is probably my flimsiest one. Andy, I'm sure you won't have a problem with it, but I would need help with this one. My team is going to have to give me a hand if we're going to make this work. And that would be in May. I would have an Aquaman and Martian Manhunter team up.
Oh, okay.
Because obviously these are players. We need to get them involved somewhere. And again, we're in an established universe. The Justice League has been working for a minute, dealing with, maybe some smaller scale problems that still require more than one of these guys to deal with at once. But I don't know quite how to incorporate that idea. But it's still something I would be interested to make work.
Jamie, you're a studio head. That's why you hire writers and directors.
Well,
you don't have to do it all yourself.
I'm not mandating, but guys, help me out. I want to see this. How can we make it work? So that'll be our brainstorm session there. And then in October, we are going to do the Zatanna Blue Devil film. And this will be set at Halloween. And this will take
right, it will be
in the city and surroundings of New Orleans, Louisiana.
I love it.
I love it.
I love it.
And maybe they've heard rumors of this swamp creature, or maybe we're going to get, a little bit of an establishment with some other characters from the Justice League Dark universe. But in the case of Justice League Dark, I did want to start just a little bit on that smaller scale and build up to it, only because I feel like that one has enough unfamiliar characters to general audience that we need to lead them into it instead of just throw them into the already established thing like we're doing with the main players of the main Justice League. So that's my October idea there.
Well,
and I call 2027. Oh wait, that's 26. Never mind. I'm moving too fast for my own self. So
we're on 26.
That's 26. That's 26.
We're on 26. But yes, that take my money. It sounds great to me. Cool. All right. What about you, Anthony, 2026?
2026, I'd kick off with an Aquaman film. And I will admit right now, I don't know enough about Aquaman's rogue gallery. I feel like it could be kind of a retread of what we've gotten, but I would want to see him face Black Manta. But to differentiate, this Arthur Curry would be the serious, noble king of Atlantis. God knows I love Jason Momoa, but I'd want somebody a little more regal than the fun-loving, ocean bro we've got. And he has to deal with an invasion from the human world by Black Manta. And in this incarnation, Orm is his serious advisor who wants to start a war with the surface world in retaliation. But Arthur doesn't think it's necessary. And of course, he defeats Manta, and we get hints that Orm has machinations to usurp the throne in the future at some point. Then we would head back to HBO Max, and we would get the Green Arrow and the Black Canary. To differentiate between the CW verse and Arrow, they would both be older, Charlie Hunnam type age for Oliver Queen. And it would pit Green Arrow and Black Canary against Dark Archer, who has gone on to join the League of Assassins under Ra's al Ghul, which would bring Batman and Robin into the fold. They would take on Ra's while Green Arrow takes on the Dark Archer. So, and then round off the year, we would get a DC Trinity team up film, and I would have them taking on a Venegarian invasion. Led by Sky Tyrant, who believes his true love has been reincarnated on planet Earth as a human. The Trinity would join forces with Kendra Hall, a New Orleans detective, to stop the invasion, and when it would be Hawkgirl's origin story. And in the end, she stays in New Orleans to defend her city when she gets a hint of a gruesome murder that it might involve a swamp creature, which would set the
All right.
which would set the scenes for Justice League Dark way down the line. But there you go.
All right. I like the ongoing theme of New Orleans, Supernatural, Justice League Dark. I like it. All right, so now we're on to 2026, and now is where, in my universe, we want to start rebooting the biggies, and I feel like the best way to do it is close to what you said, Anthony. It's a world's finest movie in the spring, in March. 2026 March, it'll have been 10 years since Batman v Superman. So it feels kind of appropriate for that's when you do the team up reboot, because now we can meet the new Superman and the new Batman in the same film. To your point, it's not a versus movie, it's a team up picture. But this is also, Batman will have a Robin. In this one, it'll be Dick Grayson, and you can also introduce a Wonder Woman. So this is where you start introducing the new status quo of the DC Universe using Batman and Superman. And much like you said, Anthony, they will be going up against Lex Luthor and the Joker. A lot of inspiration from the wonderful Batman and Superman animated movie.
Absolutely. That's a fantastic film.
It's funny you say that, because initially when I started doing this, my idea was kind of have everybody at the beginning, like start with the Superman at the beginning of my slate, and have Batman like looking from afar, reading headlines in the Batcave, researching what's going on with him. Do I trust this guy? Do I not? And then, you know, the whole exchange of Superman using his X-ray vision to figure out Bruce Wayne as Batman at the end of the first movie, but then at the end of the next movie being Batman's movie, Superman's kind of figuring out what he's up to, and have the whole Batman using the binoculars from a mile away and waving to him like, "Hey, I got you, Clark Kent." Mm-hmm. I was going to incorporate that, but I was like, I really don't want to go through that whole reestablishment. But, you know, if that's how you want to roll, I'm with it. I'll watch it.
All right. But because we do introduce a Robin right here with Batman, and like both of you guys said, this Batman, the shared universe Batman, is a little more comic book, a little more colorful. So he has a Robin, he has a Batcave, he has a Batmobile, he has all the things. But because we have Robin here, and this is the Dick Grayson Robin, but like you said, Jamie, it's fully established. This isn't the Robin origin story. He's here as a supporting character. But towards the end of the film, he has to leave town, and we tease that he is going to meet up with some teammates, the Teen Titans. And so for summer of 2026, it's a Teen Titans film. And so we've got the Robin we just met in World's Finest, but we also have Cyborg and Beast Boy and Raven and Starfire. And this is them versus Deathstroke. That's all I know as far as the story, but you could easily seamlessly go from World's Finest into Teen Titans for July of 26. And then by the end of 2026, I feel like it's time to reintroduce and reboot The Flash and give the Flash movie that people were kind of hoping for the first time around, and this is The Flash versus the Rogues. And this would be November of 2026. And so this allows us not only to meet this new version of the Flash, but also flesh out his world with the entire team of the Rogues. And that's November. So that takes us to 2027, Jamie.
Okay, so 2027, kind of my subtitle or theme for the year, I called this one the Year of Unity. So, excuse me, my slate for 27 will start off in March with a Trinity film, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. What they're going to deal with, I don't know, but it's due. to have that happen in a full movie instead of just an action sequence in the third act. In July, hey Andy, check this out: Teen Titans.
Yeah. All right.
Just because I feel like you get that summer bang, kind of the same slot you have it in. I'm just doing it a year later, and it appeals to the youth audience. It appeals to the grown up audience. We're kind of filling some gaps here. I would not go overboard making it family friendly, but I'm certainly not going to take the mature route that the HBO Max series has done, or it just. I feel like we need something to keep the youth audience interested in what we're doing. I'm trying to get something for everybody in here, and that's the way I think we're going to tune into the younger audience. And they're legit going to be teens. They're not going to be mid-20s Titans. They're going to be teen Titans. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to incorporate the sidekicks and the familiars, and Raven and Starfire and probably Robin versus Nightwing at this point. I feel like that's the way I want to roll with that. And I know at this point I've already established that Grayson is Nightwing, but I feel like Drake would be okay to run a Titans unit at that point. And maybe that's sacrilege to Titans fans, but this is how I'm rolling.
No, it's good. I think you can do both. And I should have said in the Teen Titans movie, Grayson makes the transition to Nightwing. I should have said that for mine. You just reminded me. Sorry.
Yeah, so there's numbers of ways we can go. But again, I want to maintain, I want to be inclusive in my universe. I want representation on all fronts, and not just with race, gender, sexuality, any of that stuff. I also want age brackets represented, because I feel like we've cut the youth market out of the live action DC films for far too damn long at this point. And I want something to, again, my other movies I think will be okay for kids, but this one I think is the one that's really going to be like, here's the one for you guys. Come on. And then in October comes my Justice League Dark movie. Now we're established. Now we've got the whole group in there. And I'm going to even put like Detective Chimp in this thing, just because, Jay Yaws will watch the movie. I know I sold a ticket if I did that. But Zatanna and Constantine and Swamp Thing and Blue Devil and, any of these things. Maybe even get Dr. Fate involved in some capacity. Just again, I'm going to set it in that Halloween theme. And I know I've done it once already the previous year, but New Orleans at Halloween, guys, come on. How do you go wrong with that?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You can't.
So that's 27. That's my year of unity, I call that one, because I'm starting to establish some teams, not just like team up or one and twos there, but like actual teams getting in on action.
I almost feel like a Justice League Dark movie has to be set at Halloween, at least the first one. I don't know how you don't do that. But
the only reason I hesitated with that is because I did my Zatanna and Blue Devil film in the same locale at the same time. But frankly, I love the idea so much, I want to do it again. So that's why
there you go. I'm all in, Jamie.
All right.
That's my 27 slate.
Okay, cool.
I'm keeping with the 3-movie theme for a minute.
No, I think 3 movies feels like a good balance. Like 2 feels a little skimpy, 4 maybe feels like a lot. So I picked 3 with everything except for, 1 year, which we'll get to. So I'm with you. All right, Anthony, what about you? What is your 2027?
Well, I'm going skimpy this year with 2 films.
Okay, that's all right. That's okay. Sometimes you got to.
I agree with, and I agree with you about 4. Like, not to get on a tangent or open a can of worms, but I feel like Marvel's reaching oversaturation at this point, but different conversation. So 2027, we're going into lesser known heroes here, but still heroes who are early members of the Justice League. So we're kicking off the year with Plastic Man, and he is going to face off against Dr. Dome. And this is the only origin story in the whole lot, besides, the Hawker one I mentioned earlier. We're going to show Patrick O'Brien as a small-time crook. He's left for dead by the mob, who, when they try to have him steal a bunch of chemicals for their new boss, Dr. Dome, and these chemicals turn him into Plastic Man. And he turns his life around, going after crime instead of committing crime, while Dr. Dome plots to steal his powers. And that would essentially be the plot of the movie. And then later in the year, we would get an Atom film. And the Atom will already have his suit developed. And The plot would essentially be him and his partner, Dr. David Clinton, are working on the prospect of time travel, actually. And Clinton becomes obsessed with using it for the wrong reasons and turns into the villain Kronos, who wants to steal the atom's research to perfect time travel via atomic energy. And those would be my two 2027 films.
All right. Okay, for 2027, my first film would come in May, kicking off the summer movie season. And the previous year, we had The World's Finest, meeting a new Batman and a Robin. And then Robin made his way into Teen Titans, became Nightwing. And so we're kicking off May of 2027 with a Bat Family film, A Death in the Bat Family.
Ooh.
So it would be an adaptation of A Death in the Family combined with A Lonely Place of Dying, because you would see a new Robin, Jason Todd, pass away, and then the emergence of a new Robin in Tim Drake, while Batman, Nightwing, and Batgirl are all playing supporting roles. So that is May. We go towards the end of the summer of 2027, and it's time to reboot Aquaman. So we get a new Aquaman film, like you said, a more traditional Aquaman than what we've gotten up till now with Jason Momoa. And like you said, I love Jason Momoa. He's been great in the role, but a way to differentiate is to go with the more classic Aquaman. And so I tentatively titled this one Aquaman: The Trench Attacks. So we've gotten the Trench in the first Aquaman film. Who knows if we'll get the return of the Trench in the new one. But the Trench was a pretty small part of the first film. And so I just was imagining, what if the Trench not only attacks Atlantis, but also makes its way to the surface and Aquaman has to then protect us? So that's the idea. Who knows? But that's August. And then that leads us to the holiday movie season in November, where it is time to officially reboot Wonder Woman. And so that would be November. And so this would be our new Wonder Woman, whoever it is. And we may have met her in World's Finest in a small part, but this is where she gets her own film. And I just called this, I tried to think of like, oh, which Wonder Woman villains haven't we really explored? You know, because we've already gotten a few, and I would have already done a third one at this point. And so my thought was Wonder Woman heads to the underworld to take on Hades. So I'm calling it Wonder Woman Battle in the Underworld.
Is he being played by James Woods? Just curious.
You know, this day and age can't really use James Woods. But, you know, it's just, I'm like, well, Hades is like a good Greek mythological person you can use as a villain. It won't be the Disney version. It'll be a darker, scarier version. But I just imagine Wonder Woman hacking her way through the underworld with demons and whatnot, and it would be really damn cool and epic.
I'd watch that.
And watch the heck out of that.
And so that would be November of 27. And now on to 2028, Jamie.
All right. So 2028, I've got two titles for this. The first one is The Year of the Villains. And the second one is The Year of Satisfying Jamie's Undying Greed. So in February, I got a Legion of Doom movie. I'm going to have Bruce up in the watchtower looking over the computers, kind of getting that wrinkled brow of, this is weird. And, you know, maybe Superman walks behind him with a cup of coffee and says, how's things going today? And Bruce says something about noticing an unusual amount of criminal activity in different locations from different people, and something's up, or something's not right. And then I immediately cut to Lex Luthor saying, it's time to put our plan into motion. And this is where I go hog wild. Lex Luthor, Parasite, Metallo, Cheetah, Giganta, as many Bat villains as I can fit in a movie. Joker, Riddler, Penguin, Two-Face, Bane, everybody. I'm not doing a Legion of Doom that's got 6 or 7 members in it. I'm doing a Legion of Doom that is legitimately going to lay some waste to everything that's in front of them. But I'm not putting the Justice League in this movie. I'm just going to let them go out and wreak havoc, conduct what they're going to do, and then at the end of the film, they're going to say something to the effect of, it's time to execute phase 2. And that's kind of going to be where I'm going to drop. I'm going to start doing a little bit of cliffhanger stuff here. So that's where I'm going to end with that. In April, I am going to kind of lighten things up a little bit again, just because it's a little out of place. I probably could have found a way to make this work in the Legion of Doom context, but I feel like it's time for this to get celebrated just kind of on its own. So in April, I'm going to have Gotham City Sirens and Batgirl. And it's going to be the whole concept that we've talked about of Batman's indisposed, dealing with the investigation of these happenings with the villains striking at multiple locations at the same time. And Batgirl is left to deal with Harley, Ivy, Catwoman, whoever we want to put in there. Well, whatever sirens you want to deal with. But those feel like the big three to have in that. But I want to get that established in there too. Kind of almost a side idea, because it's not going to fit in necessarily with the rest of the year. But it's been too long, guys. We need to get this up here. And I'm still heartbroken that the Batgirl movie is not getting in front of me here. So.
Don't bring the conversation down, Jamie, by mentioning that. I am heartbroken as well.
It's a little difficult here for me because, again, I got super greedy for this year. Super greedy. I know. I recognize it. But then that was in April for the Gotham City Sirens and Batgirl. In May, I'm going to have Furies of Darkseid featuring the New Gods, because now we need to get a little bit of that established. So the overlap is really quick. These two are going to be 30 to 45 days away from each other, but they're different enough. I don't feel like they're going to step on each other's foot. But I get that established a little bit with the intergalactic, outer space, the more epic scale, that stuff out there. And then that's in May. In July, I'm going to have Justice League. The end of the Darkseid movie, I'm just going to have Darkseid go to like a computer monitor, and the monitor switches on, and it's Lex Luthor smiling at him and says it's time. Then in July, I kick off the Justice League movie. The Justice League is now in full swing and dealing with this Legion of Doom situation. And they go through whatever havoc that they have to go through. We get a lot of fights. I'm not just going to have everybody pick your villain and stand up and do this. It's, oh God, each one of us has like 5 or 6 villains that we have to deal with here and work together to constrain and deal with that situation in front of them. Again, I'm not a strong enough writer to get the exact logistics down, but I have faith that my think tank will be able to come up with the right ideas there. So the end of that Justice League movie, it will have them victorious over the Legion of Doom, but that's when the boom tube opens. And that's because in December, Justice League 2.
Oh, that is greedy.
Super greedy. I know it's super greedy. I know I went buck wild with this, but you know what?
You're like, it's the last year I get to do it, so everything goes in it.
I'm pent up for far too long. I feel like I deserve everything I want to see. So yeah, 2028, I went crazy. I've got 5 movies, including 2 Justice League movies. I don't care.
What was your goal to give David Zaslav a heart attack, having to finance all these movies?
Well, I mean, in my brain, all these movies have been wildly successful financially and critically. So at this point, I'm hoping Zaslav is saying, "Hey, can we do a movie a month from now on? Because you're killing it." I'm in a fantasy world. I can think it, can I?
Absolutely, you can.
You can.
So obviously, Justice League 2 is dealing with the forces of Apocalypse, and my idea there is, they're tired, they're worn down, they've just dealt with the entire Legion of Doom. Here comes the forces of Apocalypse coming down, and ultimately the Justice League just can't mount enough against Darkseid and the Furies and Desaad and Kalibak and everything that they have to deal with there, plus the minions of if we obviously Parademons would have to be a part of it, even though we've already kind of done that. But Ultimately, in the end, everybody's standing there back to back, bruised, beaten, bloody, and they're like, if this is it, it's been an honor. And then all of a sudden, I just want this bright green light to come over the sky. And everybody looks up, and Darkseid looks up. And, I figure Hal and John and Cruz are involved in this. I figure they're part of the Justice League. They're dealing with the situation, but even they weren't enough. But I want the green light to come in the sky, everybody to look up, and there's Kilowog with hundreds of Green Lanterns. And he's like, I got the call. Here we are. And down come them and the New Gods. And that's just how I'm going to close that final third act out. I'm just going to have like a 30-40 minute battle with all of these characters just going nuts. Because, if I'm going to do an epic, I'm going to do it right.
I'm down.
I am too.
All right. I appreciate it. that was like, I was like listening to like your 8-year-old nephew being like, and then this comes in, and then this,
yeah.
and then this.
I almost made that whole year just 3 Justice League movies. Like
and
spring,
then
summer.
100 Green Lanterns, and then Blue Devil, and then the Furies, and they all come and they all fight. They fight for 2 hours.
And then Godzilla comes in.
Yeah. And then Godzilla shows up.
Oh, wait, does Warner Brothers still got Godzilla? Because I'll throw that in the mix. I don't even care. I got no shame.
All right. Great. Anthony, what about you? What about for your final year of your DC slate in 2028?
Well, that's a hard act to follow, Jamie. I'm not going to lie. I don't know if any of my things can sound as epic now.
Well, even hearing myself say it, all I can picture in my head is the meme of Steve Harvey pointing and smiling, going, "Oh, you crazy."
So my 2028 would kick off with a Justice League film. We've had all these individual solo films and the smaller team ups, and now it's time to bring them together. And when I thought about who they could face off against, I thought about Darkseid, but he's like the ultimate big bad, so you kind of want to save him for Justice League 3 or 4. So I'm taking some inspiration from the Justice League animated series, and we are going to do an Invaders of the Body Snatchers-esque movie featuring the White Martians. And it would open with a prologue in which President Luthor and Amanda Waller realize the government's been infiltrated by the White Martians, and they have no choice but to work with the new team of superheroes that Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman have put together. So with Steve Trevor as their eyes and ears, we team up with Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman and Robin, The Flash, the Green Lanterns, Hawkgirl, Aquaman, Plastic Man, the Atom, Green Arrow, and Black Canary. And we'd be introduced to Martian Manhunter, obviously, and they all come together for the first time to save Earth from this invasion, which of course they manage. And it would end with hints about what's to come in the future. The Justice League, which they've been named, is beloved by the public. The U.S. is building them a headquarters down in D.C., which would be the Hall of Justice. Batman reveals plans for the Watchtower. And we get hints that Amanda Waller wants to put together her own team so she doesn't have to rely on the Justice League, which would lead into a Suicide Squad film somewhere in Phase 2. And Luthor is also putting together his own team, the Injustice League, which would lead to that in Phase 2 as well. So that's all I came up with with 2028. I just wanted to round off with my Phase 1, but put a Justice League Dark in October, since I hinted at that with the Trinity movie earlier.
Heck yeah. So, yeah.
There you go.
I'm in. All right. As Jamie was going through his slate, I was like, look at it. We're like there's a lot of similarities. And then you went off the reservation and I wasn't with you anymore. It's not that I wasn't supportive. I just, all of a sudden, ours were not so similar. So for 2028, we would kick off the year in the spring with a sequel to Green Lantern, because it will have been 3 years by this point, with the Green Lantern Corps. So we expand the world of the Green Lanterns. The first one was a buddy picture. This one, we bring in more of them. And this time they have to go up against the different color lanterns, specifically red and yellow. So we bring in the different color lanterns here and have a larger Green Lantern Corps interstellar adventure. And that's in March. Now, we've already met our new Superman in the World's Finest movie in 2026, but he deserves his own solo movie. He's Superman. And so Superman gets his own solo movie in the summer in June. And I called this one Superman War World, where he goes up against Mongol. And I thought Green Lantern Corps in the spring, they're out, through space. You could have a nod, or you could meet Mongol that could then set up the Superman solo film in the summer. Now in the fall, we need something dark. We need something spooky. We need something mysterious. And that is where you get Gotham City Sirens in September. And so this is where we have Harley and Ivy and Catwoman, and to Jamie's point, Batgirl. We met her last year in the Death in the Family movie, and now she gets featured in the Gotham City Sirens movie. We finally get Harley and Ivy together in live action. We meet our new Catwoman. And I feel like even though we're not doing quote unquote Batman solo films in this shared universe because Reeves has his Batverse, this is a way to do a lot of larger overall Batman universe films with Death in the Family, the Bat Family, and then now Gotham City Sirens. And then that leads to the Christmas movie season where we get my version of Justice League. It will have been 3 years since Snyder's Justice League finale film, so people will be ready for a new Justice League movie. And by now, there are enough pieces in place with this new universe that it wouldn't feel forced to bring them all together in a big Justice League film for Christmas. This is Justice League versus the Legion of Doom, Jamie. And so this Legion of Doom, all of these villains had been set up through the previous films since 2025. And so I've got on this Legion of Doom, Lex Luthor, the Joker, Harley, Cheetah, Gorilla Grodd, Sinestro, Black Manta, Deathstroke, and Killer Frost. And so that is the big finale to phase 1, as you put it, Anthony, is this new rebooted Justice League versus Legion of Doom, because up until now, that is still something that no one has done, and we can do it first.
I like it. I'm here for it.
And so through this plan, if we look at wrapping up the Snyderverse and then starting the reboot in 2025, in 3 years, look at the DC universe we have in play. For heroes, we've got the Trinity, Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, The Flash, Green Lantern, Aquaman, Swamp Thing, Constantine, Zatanna, Blue Devil, Etrigan the Demon, Robin, Nightwing, Batgirl, Cyborg, Starfire, Beast Boy, Wonder Girl, Kid Flash, Raven. All those heroes are in play. They're all on the board. And then villains, you've got Sinestro, Lex Luthor, Joker, Harley, Poison Ivy, Catwoman, Black Manta, the Rogues, Two-Face. I was going to make Two-Face the villain of the Death in the Family one. Hades from Wonder Woman. Cheetah, Mongol. Like, I feel like through all of this, there are so many now DC characters on the board, and the opportunities and possibilities are endless after this.
Guys, I got to tell you, I haven't heard one idea that I wouldn't sit down and say, I'd like to watch that.
Me either. I'd watch any films on any of our slates.
Awesome. Well, there you go. Those are our slates. Any closing thoughts you want to give Jamie about your slate, or anything that you forgot to mention?
I know I'm pushing it with that last phase of it, but I just got so excited as I was thinking about the possibilities of things that, my spectacle entertainment loving ass would just love, and just went with it because, hey, you left me in charge. That's what you get.
I did. It's true. I gave you the keys. You can drive us off a cliff.
I realize in reality, I would probably have to, exercise a lot more restraint, take a little bit more time to maybe build up, maybe have my Legion of Doom in that phase and lead into Darkseid in the next phase, something like that. But I'm still so burned that I was given so much of a tease of Darkseid and Zack Snyder's Justice League, and I'm probably never going to see any kind of closure to that. If we do, great, but I just don't feel like it's on the table at this point. So, I want to establish and get familiar with these characters on the screen, but I also don't want to have to. I guess the best way I can put it is, you watch something like Super Friends or the Justice League animated series, Justice League Unlimited, Batman the animated series. I feel like every one of these shows that are so beloved by so many fans the world over for so many years, all of them hit the ground running. They never took the time to spend 5 episodes building up to them teaming up or establish their origins or any of that. I feel like the audience is okay if you just have some of these characters in their prime, kicking ass, taking names, and already knowing each other. I don't feel like you even have to necessarily introduce most of them to each other. I feel like they've been around people's lives in some measure or another forever. We're ready for something like this. At least I feel like we are. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong, but that's kind of my.
No, you're
that's my
right. No, you're right. I completely agree with you. I do think that the whole, you got to do an origin for everyone is a fallacy. Like, people will accept what they're given, and it always makes me giggle when they're like, "Oh, you didn't set up all these characters in other movies," and it's like, listen, there are 100 movies with a bunch of characters where there aren't a bunch of movies leading up to them. You still meet those characters in that one movie, and it can still work. So, especially for these most iconic characters, yeah, you don't have to waste half a movie just going, and here's how they became them. You're right. Hit the ground running, and then be smart about which ones you do have to give more background on. So, the audience will go with it.
And my universe would be loaded with cameos too, like from cold openings and all that stuff. I'm just so ready to open up and embrace how good and vast and awesome the DC universe can be on a movie screen. I feel like everybody else would hopefully come with me on that journey. So
I'm there with you. Yep. Anthony, anything that you want to add? Closing thoughts about your slate?
Yeah, sure. So I agree with everything you said, Jamie. I want to point out that even though my slate was a little obvious with the heroes I chose, they were all already established for the most part, because I agree we don't need origins, especially for Batman and Superman. Like, we never need origins for them again. Honestly, the general audience doesn't either. But there was something to be said for the way the success Marvel had, slowly building up to that first team-up film before going hog wild later on, and that's what I tried to do here. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that's all I really have to say. Like,
No.
Start with the heroes already established, give them their own solo films, bring them together, and then in phase 2 I would go wild with team of films, Justice League Dark, Teen Titans, Suicide Squad, Injustice League, things like that. So that's how I would do it. Okay. But there's no right or wrong way. If the film is good, people will come see it and it will be successful.
Yeah.
Preach.
Well, and I feel like, Jamie and I, more so than you, Anthony, but even yours had a little bit in this, is we just seemed a lot more open to like DC Universe films versus solo films, of
Right.
like, especially when it comes to the Bat family. I feel like, again, like, you've got an ongoing solo Batman franchise happening off to the side. So this is where you really can expand Batman's world in a very comic booky way. And by making them Bat family films, it's a way to differentiate from what's going on with Matt Reeves's universe. But having team up films or having team films like Teen Titans or Gotham City Sirens, like, we're more open to do that, and it helps expand the universe more, without like retreading the same ground that we've seen in the past or copying another formula. So
Yep.
Yeah, I like the variety, because sometimes someone does deserve a solo film, Superman and Wonder Woman and The Flash. But at the same time, sometimes it's like, well, no, let's get more done in a single film, much like a comic book would, of like, no, this is Black Lightning and Cyborg teaming up. Like, why make each of them have a solo film before they can team up? Why can't they just team up to start and they go on an adventure together? And I think that's a lot of fun. There's a lot of opportunity within the shared universe to do things like that and have a good variety of solo, team up, full on team, or crossover films, and everything in between.
Absolutely. And I did toy with the idea of kicking off my slate with the Justice League film and spinning everyone off from that, because George Miller's unproduced Justice League screenplay I love, and they weren't going to all have solo films beforehand, but it worked, at least on the page. So
one of these days we need to read that and review that, because I still haven't.
Me either.
It is fantastic. I think
I love George Miller's work, so I'd be surprised if I didn't.
Yeah. And again, he had them all together. He introduced them all in a economic way, and hit the ground running, and they would have all spun off from there. And I think it would have really worked, and we'd be in an entirely different place had that movie been made.
Yeah. Interesting. I need to read it. I will, but cool. Well, there you go. Those are our imaginary slates. If we had been put in charge, we were not put in charge. So
but James Gunn did just drop his slate.
You better be lying.
I'm lying.
If he did that to us on a Sunday morning. I was going to say before we move on, we are all just anxiously awaiting to see what James Gunn is going to give us in January. It's funny because I went and I looked at his Twitter, and everybody every day are like harassing him, being like, "It's January's almost over. We haven't heard anything," and like he just responds, "It's January 18th. It's January 19th. It's January 20th." It's pretty funny. So
At this
he's
point, I hope he waits until 11:59 p.m. on January 31st, just because F you people.
I'm here for that. But
I am too.
what I was going to say, because I don't think I've told you this yet, Jamie, is guess what I'm doing next week?
Oh, you going out of town?
I'm going out of town.
Sweet. There's your answer, everybody. That's when it's going to happen.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm going out of town next week. And I'm like, of course I am. And I'm going to be gone through next Sunday night. So of course he's going to drop a bomb, and we're going to have to wait till I can record. So we'll see how that goes. So I just wanted to warn, but yeah, I mean, if you want him to drop a slate, the best way to do it is to get me to leave town so I can't record about it.
On behalf of all DC fans, Andy, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, happy to help. So we shall see. But in the meantime, it's fun to think about what could be or what could have been or what we would have done. And it'll be interesting to see what he shares when the time comes. But it's a good time anyway. And I hope you guys enjoyed the chat and would love to hear your thoughts. Like, what would you guys do? Any of these that pop for you? Any of these that you're like, I don't know if that would work? It'd be interesting to hear your feedback. But
well, at least we know what next week's episode is going to be, because you're going to get the emails filled with people sending in that stuff, and that's going to be a whole episode.
This is true. They're going to probably send in their own slates, is my hunch.
Exactly.
I think people need to just remember that he's only revealing a partial slate. I feel like a lot of people on Twitter have forgotten that. Like, I fully expect us only to get like 4 film names or something. And
that would be great. I'd be totally fine with that. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Me too. I just feel like social media, it can be poisonous, and a lot of people seem to forget he only said he's revealing a partial slate.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. But I mean, yeah, they're making a 10-year plan, but he's not going to announce all 10 years. My hunch is he'll announce 2 years or something to that effect. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, cool. Anyway, that was a lot of fun, guys. It was good. We're not ready to say goodbye just yet, because we also are going to review the next episode of The Batman. Look at us moving right along. We are on season 1, episode 5, The Man Who Would Be Bat. This one was directed by Sung-Eun Kim and written by Thomas Pugsley and Greg Klein. This one aired on October 30th of 2004, just in time for Halloween. And I get that. It's not a Halloween episode, but it is a creepier episode, so I think it would have fit. So this is the introduction of Man-Bat into the Batman universe. I should say I watched it this morning as I was waking up and drinking my coffee, so it's a little fuzzy. I should watch it the night before, but I didn't. I watched it this morning as I was waking up. But anyway, there is, the Yin and Bennett are chasing Batman, and they lose him, of course. But then they follow a huge swarm of bats back to Wayne Enterprises. And so they're like, maybe Bruce Wayne has a connection to Batman. So they show up there and they freak him out for a second because Bennett's like, Bruce, we want to talk about Batman. We know you're Batman. And everyone's like, oh. And he's like, I'm just messing with you. Obviously, come on, you. Anyway, there's something that happened. What's going on here? And so they realize that Kirk Langstrom is working for Wayne Industries, and he's got his lab, and they go in there and see what he's up to. And it turns out that Bruce Wayne doesn't really know what he's up to, but he is experimenting with bats. He tries to shut down Langstrom's experiments because it's unauthorized. And Langstrom's like, no, you've got to help me. I'm close to a breakthrough. My niece is deaf and I'm trying to cure deafness. And that really strikes Bruce. And Bruce is like, okay, all right, then keep doing what you're doing. And then he goes to visit the niece, and it turns out the niece is not deaf. Langstrom was messing with him. And so Langstrom has actually been trying to become more like Batman. He's obsessed with Batman, and then he becomes Man-Bat. So he has this big transformation. He and Batman trade blows. Yin and Bennett are involved. It's this big chase through Gotham City between Batman, Man-Bat, and Yin and Bennett. Eventually, Man-Bat flies away with Bennett, kidnaps him. Batman saves him. So Bennett already kind of likes Batman, but now he really does because he saved him. And then Batman and Man-Bat have it out in the sewers. Eventually, Man-Bat gets flushed out of the sewers, transforms back, and ends up in Arkham Asylum. Now, is this the first time we've seen Arkham in this show?
I think it is.
It might have been. Like, I can't remember having seen it prior to this, so it almost felt like a reveal when it like cuts out to the exterior and it's like Arkham Asylum. So it felt like
maybe it showed up one time before, but kind of in that same quick capacity. But
yeah,
I could be wrong about that.
I know it gets fuzzy, but the ending felt very Batman the Animated Series of Langstrom in his cell in Arkham talking about how he'll be back, and it sort of cuts to the exterior. I was like, I feel like that feels like Batman the Animated Series. The voice of Langstrom is the amazing Peter McNichol, who is like one of my favorites. I love him. He's great.
He's from the Upper West Side. I don't know if you're aware of that.
Oh, okay. Good.
That's like the one line in Ghostbusters 2 I thought was funny. So
no, his best line in Ghostbusters 2, and I've used it too much in real life at work, is where he goes, "Everything you're doing is bad. I want you to know this." But yes, I love Peter McNichol. He's amazing. So that is the man who would be Bat. Jamie, what'd you think?
I felt like this episode was adequate. I don't feel like it was anything amazing. I don't feel like it was anything terrible. I just feel like it was pretty basic, pretty concise. There wasn't a lot of stuff that we haven't seen before in previous episodes of this show, and we're only on the 5th one. So I don't want to accuse it of spinning its wheels at this point, but I'm kind of getting a feel for what I hope is not the formula that's going to run through this whole series. And that's new villain shows up, throws down with Batman. The cops almost figure out Bruce is Batman, but haven't quite gotten to that conclusion yet. And, next episode. I just, again, there's nothing that I find offensive. There's nothing I find bad. There's nothing I was just like, oh God, why did they do that? It was fine. And that feels maybe like I'm being harsh, but I mean, I just got to tell you what I feel about it. And I just feel like it was fine. I watched it like 4 hours ago, and I if you hadn't given me the recap, I'm not sure I would have remembered it all. But there's not a lot to remember either.
Then maybe it's good I watched it this morning.
Yeah.
Okay, Anthony, what about you?
So I want to preface this by saying when Brendan was championing this to be the next show you covered, I was in his corner because I actually think this show is very underrated. Having said that, this episode, I agree with Jamie, is fine. It's adequate. I love Man-Bat. Man-Bat's like one of Batman's villains I want to see on the big screen so freaking badly. But this episode, and the animated series did it too, actually. They make Langstrom like so overtly, obviously evil. I prefer a more sympathetic, layered Langstrom that like we get in the comics. But I mean, it was fine. It was more of the same. The design of Man-Bat is good compared to a lot of the design choices in this show, especially when it comes to the villains.
I'll co-sign that.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't need Batman having like rocket jet propelled cape to take him down. Like, he's supposed to be Batman. He should do that with his regular cape. He's a man, right? But it was fine. I enjoyed it.
All right. I did like it, actually. I thought it was a pretty good episode, but I completely understand the point, and I agree with the point, is that it does feel like kind of a formula now. It's only the 5th episode, but they all sort of have the same formula, is that it's like setup and then really long extended fight action sequence for the second half of the episode. But I still liked it. I liked the misdirection of them almost trying to Mr. Freeze Man Bat of going, oh no, he's not a bad guy. He's just trying to help his niece who's deaf. Like, I forgot about that misdirect. And then when I rewatched it got me. And I was like, oh, that's actually a nice touch, is that he's playing on Bruce's sympathies. And then it turns out, no, he knows exactly what he's doing. And I thought that was cool. Like, I understand your point, Anthony, about wanting a more, maybe more sympathetic Langstrom, but I don't know. Sometimes I like when a villain's just a villain, and I feel like that is now becoming the minority. And I like that. No, he's like, no, I want to be like Batman. I'm going to be a better Batman, and this is how I'm doing it. Like you said, oh, good.
I'm sorry. I just want to say I agree with you. I like when a villain is just a villain, but I mean, maybe this is the unpopular opinion of mine when it comes to Batman. I like that so many of his villains, Two-Face, Mr. Freeze, Harley, and even Langstrom in some comic incarnations, they started off as good people and then lost their way. And I guess that's just my preferred Langstrom take.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. Like you said, I actually really like how Man-Bat looks. I think the transformation is really cool. There's much like most of the show thus far, I think that the animation in this is really good. Like, there's some really great animation throughout, and so I got to give it credit for that. But like you said, and it's sort of the same issue as last time, is that once it becomes just this long extended action sequence for the second half, it gets a little exhausting. And then some of the things that happen are like, I didn't mind the jetpack cape as much. I thought it was okay because we have seen that in the past. What bothered me more was just the random sonar disruptor he pulls out of his belt, where I was like, where did that come from? And maybe I missed it. Maybe it's because I was half asleep, but I felt like there was no setup for it. He just all of a sudden pulled something out that could disrupt Man-Bat's sonar. And I was like, that just feels like a convenient thing. I don't know why he had it.
I just read the 66 comic omnibus, and the amount of convenient tools he pulls out of that belt in every issue was,
I mean, 66 amazing. Is different because they know that it's funny.
Yeah, no, I know.
But yeah, so that one where I was like, okay. And then when he just like, he washes him out through the water and then he just transforms back. That was the same thing where I was like, why? Like, okay, I get that's fine. I guess it's time for the episode to end. So
because Friday the 13th part 8, that's why.
Yeah, that's true. But overall I still liked it. You know, I liked the twist on Langstrom's character. I liked how he looked. I thought he was creepy. And the animation was good. So I don't think it's an exceptional episode, but it was one that I enjoyed watching.
I did like, I agree with you, Andy. I didn't like the Batman sonar tool thing, but I did like the point of view of Langstrom's bat senses, I guess. Tracking Batman through the sewers.
Yeah, that was cool.
Is this a production order you're using, by the way? So I own this on Vudu, the whole series, actually. Okay. And this and the next episode, The Big Chill, actually come before The Cat and the Bat.
Oh, weird.
Yes, I was wondering, maybe that's production order, or I don't know.
Oh my God, maybe it is. I mean, I'm going with the order on HBO Max. So I just, and that's the same order as on Wikipedia. So I just figured that was the order, but.
Yeah, so I was actually really glad when because I hadn't looked at Vudu in a while. So when you said we're covering the next episode, I was like, okay, cool. And then I went on, I was like, this is a weird order. So I was glad when you messaged and told me exactly which one we were covering.
Yeah. Well, and according to Wikipedia with the air dates, this is also the airing order. This was the 5th one to air. The Cat and the Bat was October 2nd, and this was October 30th.
So weird then.
And the next one, The Big Chill, is November 6th. So I blame Vudu. It sounds like Voodoo's the one who's got it messed up.
Yeah, clearly.
Wouldn't be the first time.
Yeah.
No, that's true.
So, all right. Any other thoughts about the man who would be bad?
I mean, I've said what I needed to say. I guess I appreciate the idea that they tried to make him more like a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde type of a character. That's fine. It's interesting enough. The animation's good. The fight sequence was for the most part good. You know, the stuff with the cops, I don't feel like we need that in every single episode. Like every couple episodes, or if we do something different with them. Yeah. I get it. They're the Batman task force and all that, but I don't know. I hope this isn't what I'm going to see for the entire season or even run of the show at this point.
Well, I will tell you this, and I do think it's funny, is the cops, Yin and Bennett, who I could take or leave. I don't, but you're right. They're not necessary. And it felt like when the show started, they were like, well, that's what makes the show different is you've got these two cops, these two partners. One of them's an old friend of Bruce's, and they're trying to find Batman. And spoilers, I think that they figured out, oh, wait, that's not really a great hook. Nobody cares that much. And so they do not last through the whole show.
Okay.
I do think they last through the whole first season, but at a certain point, it becomes more of a traditional Batman show.
Okay.
I don't mind Yin and Bennett. I agree with you though, Jamie. They do not need to be in every single episode. But I like
even if they are in every episode, they don't need to be doing the same thing in every episode.
Absolutely. I do like when the GCPD though rounds out its cast of characters more than just Gordon and Bullock and Renee Montoya. So I like them.
Yeah. Like, I don't mind making up new GCPD characters. And again, I don't hate them as characters, but especially I think it was the pilot where I was like, listen, I don't want to, I'm watching a Batman show. I'm going to spend more time with Batman than I do the random cops.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, again, the show figures it out eventually of being like, people care less about them, but it's going to take a minute.
Again, I'm not a writer. I don't know exactly how to make this work, but I feel like an idea that would make it more interesting is sometime in the next couple episodes, Bennett figures out that Bruce actually is Batman. And he has to make the choice of whether or not he wants to do what he's supposed to do with his partner, or if he wants to let Batman continue to do what he's doing because he knows he's out there actually doing some good, like saving him in this episode or whatnot. So give him that conflict of how long can I continue to deceive my partner when I know the truth and she's so determined to find out who he is. Like, to me, that's an interesting story. But
right. Putting so much emphasis on them, like this first season, these first 2 episodes feel very like a procedural drama on Fox or something, like NYPD Blue or something. That's the feel I get from these early episodes with so much focus on the cops.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I will also say, like, even though your points are valid, it's still only the 5th episode.
True. Very
you
true.
know, but I think I've seen because we had such a huge gap, like it feels longer. It's not that long.
No, it's just that we've got 5 episodes, and I feel like 3 of them were damn near just like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, fair enough. All right, The Man Who Would Be Bat, letter grade, Jamie.
C+.
All right, Anthony.
I'll go with a B.
I'll go with you, Anthony. I'm a B. I liked it. I didn't love it, but I liked it. You know what? There was a moment. I think it was the moment with the fake out with the niece where I was like, ooh, I think I really like this one. And then it was the second half that I didn't love as much where I was like, oh, I kind of knocked it down a little bit. Because Man-Bat is it's a Batman villain that I like him fine, but he's not my favorite. Like, but I liked what they did with him in this. And if they had nailed the landing a little stronger, I think I would have liked it a little more. But B feels solid. And we mentioned next one up is our introduction to this new Mr. Freeze. That is the Big Chill. So that's your homework for next time. But still not time to say goodbye because we've got to check in with you fine feathered finks and crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
Darren. What is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all, Master Wayne.
All right, let's see what you folks have to say. This one here is from Jack Fiorillo. It says, oh no, not another Snyderverse question. It says, hey, Bat Pals, I've been pondering this question over the past few weeks, and I thought, given your expertise, I would pose it to you. Do you think the Snyderverse would have done well regarding box office and reception had it not been set up and marketed as DC's answer to the MCU? It never seems like Zack Snyder had that plan, and I don't think he tried to structure it that way. I personally think his DC movies are great, but they're not exactly great DC movies. The writing, acting, and cinematography are all stellar, but they're not great adaptations of the DC comics. When the general public sees this dark, elseworldsy take on these beloved characters and expects it to be the main universe reserved for the silver screen, they're not going to respond well. What do you think? set aside the fact that this would probably not be something that WB had greenlit, but do you think the Snyderverse would have done better as a 5-part standalone Justice League franchise marketed as something more Elseworldsy? Heck, he could have even gone the Watchmen approach, same script, actors, everything, but with the names of characters and locations changed so that they obviously were at the same time, technically, but not their respective DC counterparts. Would the public have responded better? Was trying to make a franchise the MCU when it was obviously not supposed to be its ultimate downfall. On an unrelated note, something that just hit HBO Max that I highly recommend, Teen Titans Go See Space Jam. I believe it was released around the same time as Space Jam 2 to help introduce kids to the first movie, and it's now on HBO Max. It's something. Mystery Science Theater meets Teen Titans Go, meets Looney Tunes, meets Michael Jordan. What's not to love? It may not have enough content for a dedicated episode, but it's so strange. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Sorry for the long email, Jack. Thanks, Jack. Last question first. I've not watched Teen Titans Go, watch Space Jam, but I am intrigued. I've gone on record. I don't think the first Space Jam is a very good movie, but I think it would be funny to watch the Teen Titans Go watch it. So yeah, one of these days I should watch that, but that's great to know it's on HBO Max. The other question, it's interesting. It's an interesting question. So what you're saying is that Zack Snyder's DC universe is more of an Elseworldsy DC universe. And if they had marketed that way or changed the approach to make it more obvious that was what it was going to be, would that have been more successful? Jamie,
I don't know that it would have been necessarily more successful. I never feel like they were trying to constrain it to that. Like if you watch Wonder Woman or Aquaman or Shazam, I don't feel like they're in that same pool, even though they're in the same universe. Like they feel different enough from, Zach's work that he did himself as opposed to other things spawned out of it. So I don't feel like that's what held them back. I feel like maybe saying something to the effect in a trailer of, I don't know what the right way to handle it would have been, but I think telling people that it's an Elseworlds tale or even trying to convey that message maybe creates confusion, because I'm confused at even how to portray that to the general audience. Because only comic book fans are going to maybe understand the idea of an Elseworlds tale. So now you have to figure out verbiage that they're going to understand, and then you're going to take up a bunch of time, and half your trailers all of a sudden saying, "Yo, we know you love Superman and Batman and Wonder Woman, but here's the thing: we're going to kind of make them darker, more grown up, more mature, and now here's your trailer." That feels like a lot. I don't know the right way.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't the Snyderverse, wasn't Snyder's plan eventually to have a finite beginning, middle, and end? He didn't intend for it to go on forever like Marvel, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know if marketing that way. I don't know if you could market it that way. I think the problem ultimately comes down to overblown budgets, and these darker takes just didn't resonate with general audiences. They resonated with me, but I don't know if telling them flat out that this was an Elseworlds tale that had a definitive end would have helped the films.
Yeah. I think that we're all kind of on the same page. As I understand what Jack is going for, but I feel like, first of all, yeah, there's no great way to market it that way anyway. Like, how do you tell people that and make it make sense and still make them want to see the movie? I don't think you can really do it that way, especially because this is the first time Batman and Superman were in a movie together. This is the first time we got a big screen Wonder Woman. This is the first time we got a big screen Justice League. And so you can't say, oh, for the first time you're seeing this, it's not going to be what you want. Like, that's not a promise to moviegoers that's going to make them go, well, great. Thanks for clarifying. Here's my money. Like, that's just not how it'll work. I think that for the first Batman and Superman movie, and again, all three of us like that movie, I don't even think the marketing of that was misleading. The marketing of that was pretty accurate. But that is not what a lot of audiences wanted from the first big screen meeting of Batman and Superman. And Zach and Deborah even said that, as they're like, you know what? We realize after the facts that, like, people didn't want a deconstruction of Batman and Superman for their first movie of them together. And I think that's what it comes down to. And if they can acknowledge that, I think we can acknowledge that as fans. We understand what they were doing. We understand the story they were trying to tell. But for the general audience, they wanted to go see a big, fun superhero movie where Batman and Superman finally meet, and we get to meet a new Wonder Woman. And it's a big movie, but, like, you know, I mean, not that there isn't fun to be had, but it's a very dark and serious deconstruction, you know, where you've got a Batman who's gone over the edge and a Superman who's doubting his place in the world. And, like, this, it's a different kind of story than what I think people were wanting. And you can disagree with those people, but history has shown that, yeah, it didn't work for everybody. So I don't think marketing changes that. I think it was the decision of what movie they wanted to make, what story they wanted to tell, and understanding that it was extremely divisive. Because to Jamie's point, there are other movies in that universe that don't feel Elseworldsy, that feel, but also are a little more crowd pleasing. And we're talking about Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Shazam. Like, those are all movies. They're still set in that world, but they found the right balance between that world and what people wanted to see, and those movies were hits. So yeah, I think that's it. Is like, for the first time at bat for this universe, you don't start out with, it's a Batman who's already over it and he's ready to murder Superman. Like, that's not the way people wanted to meet this Batman.
Right. And in terms of success too, I don't think it helped that the WB got cold feet and kept changing course and direction. They had no clear direction, and again, their budgets are so overblown. They had to make a certain amount to, you know, be in the black, and that didn't help either.
Yeah. Well, and the bottom line is, they did want this to be the answer to the MCU. They did. And they were like, how do we get to Justice League in 3 films? And Zack Snyder's like, well, we already made Man of Steel, so we make BVS, where we introduce the Trinity, and we tease the Justice League, and then we go to Justice League. So we can do it in 3 films. And WB's like, 3 films instead of whatever it was, you know, 6 or however many in phase 1 of MCU was, and half the movies. Great, I love that plan. But you also have to assume that people are going to be on board for those 3 films.
That's helpful.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next message. It's from Chris, the Objective Geek.
Oh, no. Here we go.
He says, hey, Holy BatCast crew. Andy, thanks for clearing up the Six Flags situation. I honestly never heard differentiate between theme parks and amusement parks, probably because I never went to one as a kid. Anyway, a happy, simple question, I think. Even though the DCU is about to end, there are many things to love about it. So in the new DCU, headed by James Gunn and Peter Safran, if you could bring back just one piece of each of the following aspects, what would they be? A director, an actor in their original role, an actor in a new role, a score, a costume, and a writer. So I would bring back James Wan as a director, Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, Jason Momoa as Lobo, the Man of Steel Superman theme, Gal's Wonder Woman 1984 costume, and David Goyer. Keep up the great work, Chris. All right, so we want to bring back talent from the current DCU to the new DCU.
It's a simple question in 26 parts.
Yeah. Well, I will say, I mean, I think we're aligned with a bunch of this. So director, I'm with you, James Wan.
Agreed.
I mean, I love Juan. I loved his take on Aquaman, but God help me. I don't know if I'd be able to pick between him and Jenkins and Snyder, because I really want to see what all 3 of those bring to something else.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. An actor in the original role, Chris says Viola Davis as Amanda Waller, which is a great choice. I'm going with Gal as Wonder Woman.
It's going to be hard to top Waller, Viola Davis as Waller, but I think I'm going Margot Robbie as Harley Quinn.
Yeah. Jamie?
Just to play outside the box a little bit, I'd bring back Zachary Levi as Shazam.
Yeah, no, that's
because I love him in that part. I think he's fantastic.
Yep. Agreed.
And I think I feel like his movie, even though it's part of that universe, I feel like it's just separate enough you could get away with it.
Oh, 100%. Like if
Mhm.
any of the big franchises could, the heroes could, I think it is Shazam.
Yeah, for sure. An actor, but in a new role. So he said Jason Momoa's Lobo. That that's the one that's being bandied about, which I totally see. This one I feel like I'd have to think about. Do you anyone spring to mind for you guys?
That was instantly the first one that popped in, even before you gave the answer, just because it's too perfect to not work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going Jeffrey Dean Morgan as Lobo.
Oh, that would be good
Interesting.
too. Yeah, I'd be okay with that. I feel like Henry Cavill just because we owe him, and I'm going with what I said a couple episodes ago. Henry Cavill is Lex Luthor.
I wouldn't even be mad at that.
No, that would be great.
And imagine just like the fun marketing of that, of like he was Superman, now he's Superman's biggest enemy. Score, any score. He says the Man of Steel Superman theme.
I'm going the Wonder Woman theme.
Yeah. Jamie?
I got to go Man of Steel, just because that is one of my favorite movie scores of all time.
I agree with both of you, but just for the sake of a different answer, I'm going to say the Aquaman theme.
All right.
They're all great. They're all great.
They're all great. Costume. He says Gal's Wonder Woman 1984 costume. Another great answer. Hard to argue with that, but additional thoughts. Jamie?
My one and only answer for this would be Affleck's Batman costume, the traditional costume, not the armored one, even though I love the armored one too, but that traditional costume that was in BVS and the first part of Justice League, the black and gray, just freaking love it. So that's what I'd do.
All right. Anthony?
I'm going to agree with him on the Wonder Woman 84 costume. I love Batfleck's costume, but I prefer slightly longer ears and a slightly smaller logo. So I'm going to go the Wonder Woman 84 costume.
Yeah. I do think the Wonder Woman 84 costume would be the top of my list too. I think I agree with both of you guys. Yeah, I guess I'm just going to stick with that because I was going to say Aquaman, but I still feel like as much as I love the traditional Aquaman costume, I feel like the gloves and boots are a little too busy and I would simplify those a little bit. But that's such a tiny nitpick. I don't really, it's, don't get me wrong, but I feel like the Wonder Woman 1984 costume, I don't think I would touch a thing. And then finally, writer, he says David Goyer. I'm not mad at that. I think that's a good answer. Any additional thoughts, Anthony?
I loved Peacemaker and I loved the Suicide Squad a lot more than you guys. So James Gunn, which we are getting. So you know what? I'm going to go dark horse and go Christina Hodson. Birds of Prey is so underrated. I love it.
All right. Good. Jamie, thoughts?
I wouldn't even know where to begin with that one. I guess I'll default to Goyer because I can't think of a better answer off the top of my head right now. And somebody's probably going to say something that is going to make me kick myself for not thinking of it after I say that. I don't know.
I know. And again, just to mix it up, because I think Goyer's a great answer. I think Christina Hodson's a great answer. And obviously they agree because I think she wrote Batgirl too, even though it got canceled. And then she wrote The Flash. So they like her work. I would also say David Leslie Johnson McGoldrick, who did Aquaman, just because I love Aquaman so much. All right, Chris. Fun question, but extended one, but fun.
Yes, man. Why you always got to raise my blood pressure, man? If it's not the topic of the question, it's the length of the question and the amount of work I got to put in it. Dude, just pop in and say hi once.
He makes us work for it.
I know he does. And he's a great guy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not really legitimately mad at him. But sometimes when you say the objective geek, I have to buckle the seatbelt on my couch.
You do. It's like, okay, here we go. Let's. All right. Next message from Mike Ortego, who's one of our new patrons. He says, "Hey guys, I was wondering if you've read the recent Batman arc Failsafe and how you felt. A lot of people liked it until the last issue. I don't want to spoil anything because it's the most Because I'm Batman comic I've ever read. I can totally understand why people hated it because it's really stupid, but I think that's why I enjoyed it. I'm weird like that. Also, March 4th will be the 1 year anniversary of The Batman, and I was wondering if you guys want to comment on your thoughts 1 year later compared to your original review. Have your thoughts changed now that you've probably seen it several times? Personally, my thoughts have stayed the same. There are elements that I loved more than any other live action Batman movie, such as Batman being a detective and that he's in the Batman suit for 90% of the film. But there are also things I hated, like Pattinson's Bruce Wayne, and I am sick of Hollywood recycling the same old villains. Give us a Robin, damn it. Anyway, keep up the good work. God bless, Mike in Louisiana, aka Cajun Mike Irish. Thanks, Mike. And first of all, I hope you appreciated how many DC movies we want to be in New Orleans.
But
That's just for you.
yeah, we're going to stay at your house while we're shooting just to cut some budget down on that.
I will tell you, and I think you share this with me, Jamie. I love New Orleans culture. I'm so into it.
Me
Last-
too.
It's fantastic.
It's so unique and it's so fun. And last night, Catherine and I literally went to Port Orleans, which is a Disney resort, for dinner, just so we could get a little New Orleans flavor.
I'm telling you, and you know, you're a more extensive traveler than me, but I've done some traveling over my years, and I don't know if there is a spot on U.S. soil that is more culturally rich and just an all-around good time, whether it be partying or architecture or history or beauty in general. Like, there's just so much going on down there, and I'm here for all of it. It was great.
No, I agree.
I
It's
agree.
so great. I've been wanting to get back. I've been a couple of times, and yet me and Catherine want to get back there.
And as spooky season fans, you know, they have a rich quote unquote haunted culture. And
I know.
Heck yeah,
I
they do.
love it.
We went on a couple of those ghost tours when we were down there and loved it. It was
Yeah.
fantastic.
Sorry, Mike. I don't even know if you're in New Orleans, but you said Cajun Mike, so you at least you're in Louisiana. So
Got to
first
be at least adjacent.
Yeah. First question is about the new Batman Comics arc Failsafe. I have read it. That's like the only comic I keep up with these days. But I liked it okay. Like I mean, honestly, I'd have to go back and read it, but it was all right. You know, that's kind of where I'm at. Like I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. But yes, like the last issue, I think the new issue just came out, but the last issue, I understand why not everybody's down with that. And so I'm curious to see where it goes, because obviously it's comics. Things aren't always what they seem. But I love the concept of it. Essentially, have you guys read it?
I have not, no.
Okay, that's all right. The concept is that Batman created this failsafe, this essentially Batman robot cyborg that's like this super AI, and it's there to take him down if he ever goes too far, as well as the Justice League. And it goes wonky, and now he has to essentially take down the thing that he built to take him down. And so not only are they evenly matched, this cyborg knows everything that Batman knows and more. And so it's been fun. It's like a fun idea. It's sort of taking the Justice League Doom idea of he's got a fail safe for everyone. This is going, yeah, but he also has a fail safe for himself. And then what happens when that doesn't go as planned?
I when it comes to comics, I prefer the collected editions. I just can't keep up, you know, week to week, month to month.
Yeah.
But I will definitely, when they collect that into a trade paperback or hardback or something, I will give it a shot. That sounds interesting.
Yeah, it's a fun idea. And like, again, I prefer it when he's fighting his rogues gallery. So like, it's not my favorite, but I thought it was a fun idea, and I've enjoyed the journey.
And speaking of Justice League Doom, Andy, I think I would love to see a Tower of Babel Justice League movie. That would definitely be in my phase 2 or phase 3 when we get
All
there.
right. Okay.
Yep.
And then 1 year later on The Batman. Anthony, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go first. Again, I mentioned earlier, I do love the Batman. Did it change after a year? I still love it, but definitely some of that new car smell wore off a bit. You know, there are problems with it, but it's definitely, I'd say, in my top 5 Batman films. I still really enjoy it. I just hope the Batman 2, we don't get, you know, Mr. Freeze before he's Mr. Freeze, the Joker before he's the Joker. You know, I want, you know, them fully established. You know, I want Batman in his prime, fully established villain, slightly better aesthetic. But as a film, I still love it.
All right. Jamie?
I've maintained right along. I still think that first hour of that movie is just fantastic. I love it. I would dare say it was on pace to be the best Batman movie ever, in my opinion.
Mhm.
And then I really still love the ending where he's helping the people out of the flood situation and helping the rescue workers, all that stuff. I really love that. The problem I have, and I've seen it 3 times now, I think that's right. 3, maybe 4, but I think 3. Everything in between those 2 things has gotten worse each time I've watched it for me.
Oh, wow.
All right. I have still not watched it since the theater, and I don't really want to. And that, I think, says it all. Is I just have no desire. I don't think my review has changed, but I think that the things that I liked when we reviewed it aren't like, I like them less, and the things that I didn't like have gotten worse the more I've thought about it. And I think a lot of that is coming out of a new Batman movie and wanting so badly to like it. And I know some of you don't believe me. Some of you think that I wanted to hate it, and that is completely false. I so badly wanted to like it that if you go back to the buildup, you hear me on the show trying to talk myself into liking it. And on the review, I was talking myself into trying to like it more than I did. And I just got to be honest, and I just don't like it as much. I'm sorry. And that bums me out. And I hope that the sequel is something I like more. And it's not just the aesthetic. There are a lot of things about it that just don't work as well for me. And I do think the biggest tipping point is, yes, he's a detective in the movie, but he's not a very good one. And when you realize that he could have spent the movie in not even Wayne Manor, in his tower, his Wayne Manor tower, he could have spent the whole movie eating Cheetos, and it would be the same movie. In fact, there'd probably be less damage because he inadvertently helped the Riddler. When you realize that all that detective work doesn't amount to anything in the movie, and he never once is able to actually stop the Riddler from doing something bad, the whole movie kind of collapses as far as I'm concerned.
Speaking of the detective work, as much as I love the movie, I still get frustrated that they don't figure out El Rata Alata a lot sooner. That it could be referring to a bat. I don't get a rat with wings is a bat, and I don't get how the world's greatest detective, didn't come to that conclusion.
Well, we went back and forth about this though, and like I feel like in the movie, like it ends up being Falcone.
Right, yeah.
Like so, like but my point is, the whole movie he could have just been hanging out, and then on the news he could have seen that explosion at the very end and gone and helped them, and it would have been the same. So for 3 hours of detective work, he can't once actually stop the Riddler. It's like, well, what's the point?
I do want to commend you, Andy, and Jamie, and Brendan, who's not here. It was clear in the build-up, like, you guys wanted to like it. You guys had your reservations when it came to aesthetic and everything, but you always tried to bring people on who are positive and stay positive about it. So even during your reviews, you kept making a point. This is just your opinion. You pointed out all the things you liked, and I just want to applaud you for that. Like, I was really upset on your behalf, like, to the backlash of that episode, because you did everything you could to stay open-minded and positive about that movie. And I know it hurt both of you and Brendan that you didn't like it as much as a lot of people. So,
well, thank you for seeing that. I really did try. I truly did, hand to God. And not everybody recognized that, but what can you do? You know, like I said, I kept inviting people on who were more excited than me because I wanted to make sure the people who listen who were excited were represented. I didn't want to be a downer. I never want to be a downer, you know?
right.
I was
will
talking
say, I
to
hope the
somebody at work
sequel.
the other day who was actually my boss at work. And we were having a discussion, and he's like, I always disagree with people about this point. And then he said something, I mean, it's almost profound. And he's not the most profound person I've ever met, but he's like, something, dude, 80% my friend is not 20% my enemy. And for some reason, that point when he said that just made sense. It's like, just because we agree about 80% of the thing doesn't mean that we have to be enemies because we disagree about the other 20%. It's like, and
Exactly.
that kind of stuck with me, that just because I disagree with somebody doesn't mean that we have to fight about it all the time. Andy and I don't even agree about everything. We don't sit here and fight about it all the time.
Yep.
And I will say this, and again, completely honest, even though this version Batman so far is not my bag, and the sequel can certainly change that, and frankly, I hope it does, even though I didn't love it, I truly am happy for everyone who goes, yes, this is the Batman I've wanted to see. I'm happy for them because I love Batman and I want Batman to be popular and I want people to love Batman. So for the people who love this version of Batman, that's great. That's great for Batman, and therefore I'm happy about it. I'm mostly just bummed that I can't join the party.
I get it, guys, and I hope the sequel is more of your bag for both of you. I mean, as much as I love it, I can fully admit it's not a perfect film. And aesthetically, they have a lot of work to do. Just add fins to the frickin' Batmobile, please. And bring us back to Wayne Manor and give us a Batcave. I don't know why that fell out of style on a film.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm sorry if that was a downer. Was it meant to be? And I was like, I don't know how honestly I want to answer this question because I don't want to go back down that road. But
it is what it is. I mean, if people like listening to our opinions and they don't like listening to opinions that they don't necessarily agree with, but I'm not going to lie to somebody and tell them I like something I didn't like or didn't love something that I just thought was okay. I don't feel like that's doing anybody any good.
Yeah.
Yep. You can respectfully disagree. I mean, in the end, like as a podcaster myself, like that, it's a hobby. We're talking about what we love. You don't want to deal with like people who take everything personally and get so angry we don't agree with them. So
if we were the type of people that purposely went out and said inflammatory stuff just for the feedback that we would get for it, positive and negative, I get it, but I don't feel like we've ever come across as those people. So whatever. Anyway.
All right, let's move forward. Next message is from Josh. It says, hey guys, I just finished listening to your 2022 Bat Year in Review. I wanted to make a quick note. I agree with a lot of what you, Brendan, and Jamie said in regard to 2022 being a down year for DC in a lot of ways, but I found one glaring omission: comic books. Outside of the discussion of Batman 89, which I liked, you guys didn't mention the things going on over on the publishing end. In addition to Batman 89, 2022 gave us a solid run of good issues on the main Batman comic, 2 great runs of Detective Comics, and the Batman Superman World's Finest series. Not to mention what I consider the best series at DC right now, Nightwing by Tom Taylor. I know you guys tend to focus on live action and animated films and TV and the news, but it might be nice if one of those weeks where there's nothing to review, you could talk about some Bat books. I know that you and Brendan are super busy with your growing families, and I just wanted to make the suggestion. Thanks for all that you do, Josh. Josh, you are right. You are guilty as charged. And you know what? When I was making the list of the Bat Year in Review, I wanted to include comics. But as we just said, all of us are bad about staying current. It doesn't mean we don't read comics over the years, because we do. But as far as staying like super on top of what's going on now, I'm not good at that. I know Brendan isn't, and Jamie really isn't either. So I think that's
off.
What's that?
I've fallen way off.
Yeah, and that's the reason. It's literally just because we're, with everything else going on, we're bad at keeping current on the comics. Like I said, I have been reading the current Batman run, and that's the only one I've stayed up to date on. I've heard that the current Nightwing by Tom Taylor is great, and that makes me intrigued. So I should go back and start reading that. So that's a great recommendation.
I've never read anything from Tom Taylor I didn't like.
That's awesome. Well, our pal Hunter, he got me the Tom Taylor. Oh wait, no, shoot. Is it, who did Mr. Miracle? Was it Tom King?
Yes.
Damn it, Tom King, the other Tom. He got me the Tom King collected edition of Mr. Miracle that's sitting on my nightstand waiting to be read. And
that's a really good series. And that's saying something coming from me.
And that's why he got it for me. He's like, oh, this is really good. You'll like this. And so I need to read it. So I did read the first issue of World's Finest, which I really liked. And that artwork is freaking spectacular, but I didn't keep up on it because I get distracted. So that's one I want to go back to, especially as it starts hitting DC Universe Infinite. So mostly I'm taking this email is you're right, and I concede. But 2, good recommendations and reminders of things I need to go back and start catching up on.
Yeah, like I said earlier, for me, it's just easier to get the trades. I can't keep up week to week. Plus, that gets pretty expensive.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to catching up when a lot of the 2022 stuff is published in trades this year. And as far as Mr. Miracle, the Tom King run, Andy, you will love it. I read that this past year and I was blown away.
Cool. It's on the list. And yeah, I just need to be better about using DC Universe Infinite because I pay for the damn thing. And yes, it's whatever, 6 or 3 months behind now, but close enough. That's as close to current as I can ask for. All right, next message is from Jay Yaws. It says, hey, same as my previous question regarding props from Batman films, but this time you pick any cinematic Batmobile and any other vehicle featured in the movies of your choice. And yes, it includes the Penguin's duck, because how could it not? Thanks, Jay. All right, guys, you get 1 Batmobile and 1 miscellaneous vehicle from any Batman film. What do you want? Jamie?
Are we picking this for a cruiser, or are we picking this to actually go out and be Batman ourselves? Because
doesn't matter. Again, however you want to do it.
I've got the 2 answers. If I'm going to actually go out and be Batman, I'm taking the Tumbler. If I'm actually going to just cruise around, I want the 66 car.
Okay. Well,
nothing against 89 because it's probably the perfect blend between the 2. But I feel like if I'm cruising, I want the top down, my arm hanging out the window, and just saying, "Hey, everybody, look at me." And if I'm going to fight baddies, I want the armor and the capability.
Okay. No, I get it. That's fair.
But if I get 3 89s,
you don't get 3.
Damn it.
You don't even get 2.
Damn it, Andy.
You get 1, and you get a miscellaneous other.
All right, miscellaneous other has got to be the Batwing. And I hate flying, but I'd still go on cruises with that.
Okay. All right.
From 89, to be specific.
Okay. Anthony, what about you?
Jamie, I want to say I love how you constantly try to get around Andy's rules, and
he's a rule breaker. He's a troublemaker.
It made me laugh so hard in the Best of Real Fans episode where you edited out his number 11 until you guys actually talked about it later on.
Did you listen, Jamie? Did you see
I have not listened. I figured I listened to it when we were doing it, but apparently I need to go back and listen to what you did to me during that segment.
Sorry, spoiler alert, but
I'm like the Joker. I'm a man of my word.
I would definitely pick the 89 Batmobile, the Burton Batmobile, and also the Burton Batwing.
Yeah, good choices. All right, I definitely 89 Batmobile, easy. That is an easy one. But what do I want for supplementary car or vehicle?
You know it's the duck. Don't even try and play this.
You know what? Like, I kind of want it to be, but I'm also thinking of like maybe. But I don't know what I use it for other than it's awesome. You know, it just sits in the back.
It's
backyard.
Amphibious. You can go on land and water with it.
Yes, that's true. I guess you're right. It's not very fast,
practical,
but it's very fun.
And it's a convertible, so it's a cruiser, baby.
Yeah, it's true. And I feel like there was even a back seat to it because that's where all the penguins were when they crashed the masquerade ball.
Yeah, so I mean, you can put Harley's car
Bring the
seat
family. There's a car seat. Yeah, there's room for a car seat back there. You know, I mean, honestly, I was toying with the Redbird from Batman and Robin. Just because I feel like you want something smaller and more agile, but the duck is the duck. We do love the duck. And I'll tell you, if there's merch of the duck, I buy it immediately, and I don't own anything of the Redbird.
Well, I guess that's your answer then, isn't it?
I guess that's my answer. I was trying to think of something else, but I mean, yeah, the duck is so fun. And you could I could drive it in parades and stuff. And yeah. All right. The Burton Batmobile and the duck. Why not? Good question, Jay. See, now, Jay, that's a question. It's short. It's punchy. It's fun to answer. There's no drama. Jay's got our back. All right. Next message is from Lloyd Wabbit. It says, Dear Blessed Bat Fam, a current theme throughout my 3 years of listening to BatCast is fatherhood. Hearing Andy and Brendan talk about being new fathers, with Jamie serving as the wise elder statesman, has helped my own impending fatherhood feel less scary and has tipped the scales from fear and uncertainty to joy and excitement. There's an intriguing connection between your collective love of your roles as fathers to Bruce's own familial loss and dedication to raising his Bat family. Anywho, I just wanted to say that I so appreciate your transparency and articulated exuberance being dads. It's very sweet and it's made a huge impression on me. That being said, has fatherhood changed your relationship to superheroes? Anything I should expect? Lots of love, Lloyd Wabbit. Thanks, Lloyd, and your own impending fatherhood. That's exciting. Congratulations. It's amazing.
Congratulations.
Absolutely.
First, I will say fear and uncertainty, joy and excitement, all of that is accurate.
Yep. And
I felt all those things. So don't feel bad for being afraid and uncertain because everyone will tell you this, but your life is literally about to change and it's for the better, but nothing is ever the same again. And it's okay to be a little afraid of that. But also remember, you're going to be fine. Millions upon millions or billions have done it before you, and we've all survived, and you will too, and you'll learn to deal with it. So don't worry, one step at a time. But I love this. This is such a cool message, and it's crazy that listening to the show, yes, you've heard Jamie with his kids growing up, and then you've heard Brendan become a father, and then me become a father, and I'm glad that you appreciate that, and I'm glad that it has helped get you more excited about your little one coming. But I'm so happy for you. It's amazing. Every day I look at little Harley and I'm just like, God, like you used to not exist in my life. And now here you are. And now I never want to be without you. She's just so precious. So everything changes. It's amazing.
the bad news is the fear and anxiety and worry and concern never goes away. Just as an example, right now, my son is on an out-of-town trip with a rifle team that he's on, and they're currently driving back. And my wife just came down here a little while ago and told me that they're just north of Atlanta on their way back from Georgia. And, he's got to come through some nasty weather, and they're driving a great big van with a trailer behind it. So, of course, I'm worried and concerned that everything will be okay, and, probably will, but the worry and concern's still there. My daughter just went to work an hour or two ago, and worry and concern of her being out on the streets. So that's always present, and it's never going to go away. It's just part of being a parent. But the good news is the joy, the excitement, all that stuff, that never goes away either. So you take the bad with the good, but good parents worry about their kids. It's just how it works. But trust me when I tell you, the positives far outweigh any negatives that come with it.
Yeah. They're also little ingrates.
That's true. They're absolutely ungrateful about it.
Harley's almost a year old. Not once has she thanked me for a single thing that me and my wife have done for her.
Mine are 17 and 14. I don't think they have either. So
yeah. She has no idea. She has no idea how lucky she is.
Get used to the idea of not saying no to anything, especially if you have a girl.
I know. Sorry, Anthony, you were saying?
I was just saying I'm taking diligent notes for when I'm a father at some point.
Good.
But it's the greatest thing in the world. It truly is. So even though, people talk about the ingrates and all this other stuff, man, parenthood is awesome. Greatest thing I ever did.
I'll tell you, her smile, that's all I need.
Oh, she's so adorable too.
That's all you need. Her smile and her laugh, and it's like, oh, forget it. Melt. Has fatherhood changed your relationship to superheroes, Jamie?
I don't think so. I suppose maybe I've gotten a little bit more perspective about things like, Ma and Pa Kent worrying about Clark growing up in Smallville kind of a thing, or, the respect that Bruce has as the father figure for, Dick and Jason and Tim. So maybe some perspective, but I don't think the relationship itself has.
Yeah, I mean, same. Like, not yet. It's just, she's still a baby, so it hasn't affected me that much. And if anything, it's more just like, what do I introduce her to and when? It's more that and more and more like she's gonna like Batman. She's gonna like Harley Quinn. So she for Christmas, she's not even one yet. I buy her a bunch of stuffed. They were like cool Christmassy stuffed Funkos of Batman, Joker, Harley, and Flash.
Oh, that's
Because
awesome.
hopefully, when she's old enough to care, she's gonna love him. But I'm just surrounding her with the things that I want her to love. But as far as like certain things, like watching certain things or feeling not too much yet, you know. I think you make a good point, Jamie, about thinking about like Ma and Pa Kent finding a baby. Like then it's like, oh, okay. Well, the more I think about that, it does change your perspective a bit. But and about them wanting to protect Clark, you know, that makes sense and that feels a little more real when you've got your own.
I'll just give you one quick example where maybe the perspective changed enough. A lot of people complained about the idea that how Jonathan Kent was portrayed in Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
And my perspective always was, because I had kids at the time that movie came out, was hell yes, I'm going to do everything in my power to protect my kid until they're old enough to maintain and take care of themselves. And even once they get old enough to maintain and take care of themselves, I'm still going to keep a watchful eye on things because they're my kid and I worry about them. And that's, as I just said, that's literally part of being a parent. Mm-hmm. So I understood the perspective of how Jonathan Kent was portrayed. So I never had a problem with it. Just
no, I think that's a great point. And I do think that, you know, like when you look at some of those scenes and he says, you know, like someday you're going to decide who you're going to be. And when you decide that, it's going to change the world. And I obviously, in the context of this, we're talking about a kid with superpowers, but that's true for any kid. And I think those conversations are very real. And obviously I haven't had them yet with Harley. She's a baby, but like those conversations come of, you know, as you grow up, you have to decide who you're going to be. And whoever that is, good or bad, is going to change the world. And so you have to be very mindful of that. And when you look at those scenes from that context of him trying to just guide his son, knowing that there will come a day, but that day isn't today because he's still a kid. So anyway.
I feel like we went way deep there for a second.
Yeah, well, it happens.
Yeah.
All right. Next message from our old pal Stuart from Guernsey. It says, Happy New Year. I hope this year will be better than the last for DC. Out of all the movies coming out this year, which is your most anticipated? And do you think that they will push back any to 2024, seeing as that nothing else has entered production? So we're likely not going to have many DC movies in 2024. I'm most excited for The Flash, mainly for all the unknowns, as well as Keaton and Affleck being in the movie. Anyway, I'll keep this one simple and short. I hope you had a great Christmas and are doing well. Thanks, Stuart. Thank you, Stuart. Great to hear from you. It's a fair question. So what's your most anticipated? And do you think that this, you know, they might change release dates again? Anthony?
My most anticipated is definitely The Flash. I cannot wait to see Michael Keaton back in action as Batman again. And plus The Flash himself. I'm excited to finally see him get his due in a solo film. And we've waited long enough. Hopefully it comes out. I won't believe it until I'm seated in theaters, Jamie. Do I think anything's going to be pushed back? I don't. I think at this point, WB, DC, they want to rip off the Band-Aid and be out with the old as soon as possible and in with the new. I think next year we'll go through a dry spell where we only get Joker 2, and maybe the end of 2025 we'll get the new Superman film or something like that.
All right. Jamie, thoughts?
I mean, the answer I want to give is Shazam 2. But the truth of the matter is, once I see an Aquaman 2 trailer and really see some of the full-scale spectacle of some of those new creatures and things like that, that's probably where I'm going to go with it.
Mm-hmm. And do you think the slate's going to change or the release dates?
No, I think at this point they're just going to hold fast and get things done and out of the way, even if they have to quote dump them to get them off the agenda at this point. I don't think they're going to want to push it back anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Honestly, my answers are the same as Anthony's. I think The Flash is my most anticipated because not one Batman, but two Batman, plus The Flash himself. So I'm looking forward to that a lot. To Jamie's point, though, once I see a real trailer for Aquaman 2, that could change because of how excited I am about that movie. But I think that both of you are right. I think that they want to get through this so they can have that clean slate. And by changing the release dates, all they're doing is delaying that. So I do think 2024 will be a lean year for DC fans, but I think that's all in part of their reboot. It'll be a lot like those 3 years between Man of Steel and BVS, where we got nothing. We got nothing in those 3 years because they were setting the table and getting ready for the big launch of their shared universe. And so I think 2024 will be very much the same. We'll get Joker 2, but I'm not sure we'll get much else. Because honestly, I think you'd have to be going into production now on anything that you'd want coming out in 24. And that doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah. And I know James Gunn is writing Superman, but even if they want to make 2025 for that, they got to get started soon. So I think at minimum it would be late 2025.
Yeah. All right, one last one here, and then we can get out of here. This is from Jeff Nolan. It says, "Hey guys, I know it hasn't really been addressed on your or I don't know if it's been addressed on the show before, but what are your thoughts on some of the Bat in the Sun Batman short films that have come out on YouTube? One of their latest ones is called Batman Dying is Easy, and it stands out with a Batman visiting a dying Joker in Arkham with a glimpse of many of the Rogues Gallery along the way. It also features some notable names like Michael Madsen, maybe, as Bullock, Chris Daughtry as Hugo Strange, and even Doug Jones as the Riddler. Thanks for your time. I hope you had a great holiday season, and keep up the great work, Jeff from Gainesville, Florida." Thanks, Jeff. I'll tell you, yeah, I haven't been paying attention to the fan films, but you just made me very intrigued about this one. So I might have to look it up when we're done here. So yeah, we haven't addressed it because I don't think any of us have watched them, but this sounds really interesting. And I love that they've got some cool names as some cool cameos, and I'm intrigued. So I appreciate the recommendation. Have either of you guys seen this? Jamie, I assume you haven't.
I haven't seen that one, but is Bat in the Sun the one that does the superhero versus superhero matchups?
Oh
I
man,
feel like their name was like Batman versus Darth Vader, and
I remember that one, yes.
you know,
But I have no idea if it's the same people.
I feel like most of them feature Batman because it was like Batman versus Wolverine, Batman versus Deadpool.
Because Batman is the best, Jamie.
Well, I agree, but anyway, if they're the ones that did that, I've seen quite a few of those and enjoyed them, but I haven't seen the one that you're questioning about there.
Yeah. What about you, Anthony?
I have not either, but I just pulled this up on my phone, and the production value looks amazing. The costumes and cinematography, so I will definitely be checking this out.
Cool. Well, there we go. Thank you for the recommendation, even though we haven't watched them yet, but now we've got something to watch. But that's it for the Wayne Manor mailbox. We're closing that up. If you got something for a future Wayne Manor mailbox, you can send that to Holy BatCast at rf4rm.com. That'll do it for this episode, guys. We did it. Thanks for joining us. Anthony, thank you for joining us, making the time. I'm glad we finally made this happen.
Yeah, I am too. Thanks for having me, guys. It was great to finally connect. You guys are my favorite podcast out there. So,
well, thank you.
Every week it's like listening to friends. So it's, an honor to finally join you guys and talk to you. So thank you.
Well, thank you. That's very sweet. And again, it's great that, we've been digital friends for a long time. It's nice to finally talk to you. It was a pleasure having you. Tell our friends at home where they can find you. Tell them about your podcast if they need a little taste of Christmas throughout the year.
Yeah. So me and two others, we host a podcast called Tis the Podcast. Every Monday we drop a new episode in which we discuss a different Christmas movie, TV special, episodes of a TV show, something like that, to keep the Christmas spirit alive 365 days per year. Although every October we delve into Halloween content. But you can find Tis the Podcast wherever you find your podcasts, and access all our social medias at linktree.com/Tis the Podcast.
Awesome. Very cool. And anywhere like they can follow you online or anything like that?
Sure. I have a Twitter at the Sanderson Bro. So check me out there.
Great. Jamie, thank you as well. Where can we find you lurking about?
You can find me lurking on Twitter at BatRaider3960. You can find me on Letterboxd under my name, Jamie Drewley, Real Fans Group on Facebook, and this wonderful podcast that I do enjoy doing.
Excellent.
Oh, I
And
have a
oh,
letterbox as well. I'm sorry.
okay,
It's newer, but I will. It's Anthony C929. So look me up there.
cool. And most recently, we mentioned it a little while ago, is on the Real Fans main feed, Real Fans for Real Movies. We just did our worst and best of 2022,
which is always a great time.
which is fun. And you don't get to hear Jamie's number 11 because that's against the rules.
I can't help it. You're so constrictive. You can't put boundaries on me.
I can when I get to edit.
That's true.
Yeah. All right. Well, I already told you guys where to follow me. Thank you so much for joining us for the episode. Thanks for streaming or downloading the show. Please do subscribe or follow the show wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. And please rate and review us wherever you get your podcasts, whether it be Apple Podcasts or Spotify or Stitcher, or any of those. We would appreciate that. That's a great way to support us. That doesn't cost a thing. Please visit holybatcast.com or find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. If you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, again, that email address is holybatcast@rf4rm.com. Our theme music was created by Gaurav Venkateswar. You can find his work at gvtunes.com. And don't forget to check out our sponsor at manscaped.com. And if you're going to do some shopping and buy something, please use that promo code BATSCAPED. That'll do it. On behalf of Jamie and Anthony, I've been Andy. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for. And James Gunn will drop his slate in 3, 2, 1 and ruin everything. No, he'll do it on Tuesday when I'm on a plane.
Of course
That sounds like him.
Then Brendan will contact me and want to resurrect the nightlight so we can talk about it without you, and it'll just be a whole thing.
Oh, that's so what he would do.
Wouldn't be the first time.